Ali, 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 yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. Praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Islam, Moorish America. Want to rise upon the 7 within the circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to His holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution, and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything. And I do mean everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. But let us call forth our beloved brother and scribe, Dr. Tara Npu Anibati Bey, that he may open up the way. Islam.
Islam, Islam, Islam. First, I'd like to rise and give our man praise to Allah, understood the Prophet, understood our theocratic government, our royal council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, mufti, citizens alike, understood all the Moors that are here in the sound of my voice, all the scribes on our panel, and our professor of this class, Dr. Shedu Mentiamo Hadith Bazil. And with that, I would like to start off with the committee in that Moorish American prayer. Ya Allah, abnu haru makunetaru. Ya Allah abhet haru. Ya Allah ma'at haru. Ya Allah hotep haru. Ya Allah haru. Ya Allah ma'at haru kuti. Ya Allah awajet jet juti. Ya Allah patim sutek patim haru. Ya Allah bamaduti. Al hadith today Abtu Ali. Ameen. Alisa. 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 And that is to say, O Allah, the Father of the universe, O Allah, the Father of love, O Allah, the Spirit of truth, O Allah, the Spirit of peace, O Allah, the Spirit of freedom, O Allah, the Spirit of justice, O Allah, you are my protector, O Allah, you are my God, O Allah, you are my salvation, by night and by day, O Allah, through your holy prophet, O Allah, Drew Ali. Holy Isa, Holy Isa, Holy Isa. With the recitation of our committee in that Moorish American prayer, I will now read the Divine Constitution of Moorish America, Salvation, Our God, Unity. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs, if he lives according to love, true peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. the bylaws. Act 2. All means are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on the Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on the Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended into his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of North America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality. And we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, color folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which we live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings, partial of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with
GPS satellite is sending everybody to a Starbucks in Wyoming. How'd you do that? I'll tell you how. You messed up my stuff. I was too stressed to focus, and now I'm fired. Oh, wait, hey, look, Bill.
Islam. I have no idea what's going on. Brother Bati Bey, are you there?
Yes, I am. Somebody got their line. I think it's Diane Carter Bay.
Okay, Islam. Okay.
Islam.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. I just closed up. Yeah, that's crazy. Something going on here because it ain't but 3 of y'all on the panel. And
yeah.
I heard sound coming through there earlier.
Yeah, it was
all lines are muted.
Yeah, one no lines open, but about the bays and like somebody cut in there.
Yeah, I don't know how in the world they doing that.
I don't know.
Okay, continue on, brother.
Islam. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful husband. You must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband. You must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. And with the recitation of our divine constitution and bylaws, I will now turn the meeting over to the engineer Kurt DeBay for the reading of our chapter of the week, Islam.
Islam. I am Dr. Engineer Kurt DeBay. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act 1. I give honors to all my government officials. I give honors to our instructor this morning, our National Assistant Grand Chief, and I give honors to Dr. Tara, Master General of our for opening us up according to law. And at this time, I will be reading our chapter 69, coming from our Holy Quran. And it reads, Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. Every prophet leaves a holy book of guidance for his nationals. Ju'ah leaves 3 of 4. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Land joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the Pharaoh of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient Pharaoh of Egypt. He ordered to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great Pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extended eastward from the river Nile, westward across the great Atlantis. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today, without doubt or contradiction. There is no one who is able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the prophet Noble Jew Ali, the founder of the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. These laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before that great and lawful day, which is sure to come. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess his own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principle of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America, who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principle of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing of. Islam, Islam, Islam. I will now turn everything back over to our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Sadu Amiti El Mohejit Sepsuel. Are you there, Godman?
Islam, can you hear me, sister?
Islam, I can hear you well.
Gratitude. Islam, 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 Moorish America. Let us rise upon the seven within the circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything, and I do mean everything, that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to welcome you to another E.A.R.S session, Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate session, and I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Amor Hadi Shabazz El, and my ancient Comedian high name being the same as Dr. Shedawul Minti El Muhajjid Shepsuel. And we have a grand drawing to bring on the manifest Moorish kin. We always like to lay the foundation in this particular juncture of our lesson with the Book of Fire. And we will call forth our scribes so that they may open up the way and read from our Book of Fire. So, Islam. Okay, Brother Bati Bey, since you have come forth, we have page 188 is where we will start the infinite works of the ancient Moabites when we were angels. 188, you will start there, and you can read over to, I just want to make sure I equally distribute this right. Okay, yeah. So you're going to read over to above another hiding of the Moors.
Islam.
No, better yet, above who are the cities of India. Good brother. Yes, sir. And then Sister Curtabay can start.
Wait, okay, yeah, give me a page number because I don't see.
Oh, yeah, I got you right now.
Okay.
It says, who are the cities of India? That's page 192.
192. Okay.
Yeah, so Brother Bati Bey going to start right above that. He's going to stop anywhere above that, and you can pick up right there on page 192, who are the cities of India.
Oh, okay.
And then you're going to go from there, and let's see here. Okay, and then you will go over to, let's see. I'm trying to make sure I put this up here right. It's equally distribute this. Better yet, Brother Bati Bey, you can actually stop above the Arabian defacement of the Moorish, and Sister Curta Bey start on 191.
191.
Yeah, at the Arabian European defacement of the Moorish.
Okay.
And then you can actually go to above another hiding of the Moors.
Oh, okay. Stop right there. Okay.
Yeah, and then our Grand
Islam.
National Grand National Secretary of the State. Yeah, you can go above from another hiding of the Moors on 193, and then you will actually stop above where it states learn law and know law governs all events on page 196. Islamism. So praise be to Allah. Amabadu, you may proceed, Brother Bati Bey. And all is well.
Islam. One second. Praise and honor has already been given, and we will begin. When we were angels, we still are. Noble Drew Ali, when applying the word ancient, is referring to the state when we were gods. This was when our ancient forefathers' will was not strong enough to break the ethos of life from their native planes, which were in harmony with Allah. More Holy Quran 11:31. They were consciously aware of the relationship to the cherubim and the seraphim and other angels. More Holy Quran, chapter 1. Being spirits, they could, being spirits, they would transmute in and out of any form of deific life and manifest at will. Their mission was to master and name, give a true attribute summation all things of this earth, land, and universe. With his force of divine love, he could enter the essence of every planet, bird, every planet, plant, bird, fish, beast, or creepy thing without becoming that life. He named everything because every living thing was a deity made flesh. He named each one and did so in accordance to the totality of its character and purpose, and each within its nature was in harmony with Allah. The name was a perfect description of that special life form. To this day, these works made man lord of every kingdom to every plane of life. He knew himself and was himself, the executive ruler and vicegerent of all the world, seen and unseen. He governed with the highest powers of his native plane: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. This is called God's grace, or the circle of life. Most Holy Quran, chapter 1 and 11. It was from this lofty estate he used the keys of civilization. The Egyptians in the monuments misnomer the Sphinx preserved the eras of godly events by the ancient ones called time travelers by modern men. The godhead of the African man coming out of the body of a lion was captured from the plane of thought and carved in 65-foot high stone, nearly the length of a football field. The Egyptian adept also knew man, spirit man, was as perfect as the source from which he came, and could never die, but indeed would return in another era, in another olive skinned body. When we appeared in the first physical form, which carnal man called this event Adam, and we fell into the lesser state of divinity, ungodly thoughts of the sluggish will, which is known as fallen humanity, see Adam and Eve. The human spirit we called Asiatic, which means earthbound or to mother's breast. And our true higher selves we called Muslim. The latter is our total recall of will to be in harmony with our creative plane, which at times we call the great God. 94. Key 94. These assignments and greater occurred when we were angels going to work, pardon the body, doing the work of God. Key 38 and key 39. When the Moabites were themselves, a brief Morse history. True history will reflect eras when Africans were the first to inhabit the earthland. For this reason, this is to this very day, his birthplace is called the Holy Lands because it's where the God self was first formed in human flesh, outside the then Eden. The rest of the earth land he called Asia. Question: who were Adam and Eve? They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatic and Muslims. Question: where did they go? They went into Asia. Question: where is the modern what is the modern name given to their children? Asiatics. These events occurred before the cataclysm, which Drew Ali called the Great Earthquake, which created the Great Atlantic Ocean. More Holy Quran 47:7. The continent of what is now called Africa was the centrifugal birthplace and divine origin of the Asiatic nations. More Holy Quran, chapter 25. Allah originated all Asiatic nations. The pale-skinned man, through ancient Moorish scientists, was later cloned by these African gods after themselves. However, they, the man-made man, could not be originated with a heart, the spirit heart, and possessed an inanimate center. Hence, the earthbound character and chemical makeup of the hueless ones came to be a destructive and warlike nature, which was inharmonious, diseased, and reproach to the sun and omnipotencies of life. Yet they too were shadows of the deities made with flesh. Because of their detachment from the truth, God, the pale skinned people, and those who accept their teachings were cast out of the holy city, cast out of the holy land and imprisoned into the cloud covered mountains and lands of Eurasia, where they remained until the advent of Moses. Still, until this day, the nations of Europe will rather make false claim of an ancestral origin to the monkey of Africa before acknowledgement by their Moorish creators. See Adam and Eve / Freemasonry. People with short memories or those suffering from selective amnesia do not understand the reason why the Holy Lands today are European orchestrated war lands is because it is the final effort to bury the history of the gods that created them. Regardless to that story of Europeans, the families, tribes, and nations of Asiatics began from the holy birthlands to form themselves kingdoms around the globe. Other Asiatics from the lands inhabited India, Persia, China, Japan, Australia, Arabia, Iraq, North, Central, and South America, and all islands of Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. All of these were melanated, drenched brethren of the Sunni man. More show the Quran, chapter 47. These holy lands of sun-kissed peoples of olive hues extended from the upper Nile northward through the valleys of Kemet, Egypt, lands through today's Mecca, Jerusalem, and Moab of Canaan. It was these ancient Moabites who were the founders of the holy city of Mecca. More show the Quran 45:2. Then came the name Sunni, which means original or first. Also, the Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa, they were the founders and the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. It was the Moors, a seafaring people, which had circumscribed the continent of Africa over 10,000 years ago. In fact, during the reign of Necho II, the god of the Nile had circumnavigated the entire continent and drew maps so accurate until it looked like an aerial view of today. This is when the name of Mexim, the first true and divine name of the continent, got its rise. They named every continent sea, mountain, and waterway. It must be remembered, above all else, the entire earthland was given to the torchbearers of civilization. The ancient Moabites are homeowners of planet Mud. Question: what is the covenant of the great God Allah? Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earthland which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. The Moors are not renters, squatters, gypsies, or nomads. They hold the title to their vast estate within each heart. The renters on earth are those who believe their life begins and ends in earth. They exist discordant to the harmonies of life, which breed justice, mercy, love, and right. Question 16, 70, and 73. This is why it took a holy prophet to remind the Moorish the key to civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. More show the Quran 45:2. The Moorish know the earth's pulse and lifelines which breathe life from Allah. This is why they built major upper structures upon these pulses to ensure harmonious long life, e.g. pyramids, zikkurats, and the great river mounds of North America, along the Mississippi River from Louisiana through the Great Serpent Mound in Ohio, up to the lakes. To this day, these mounds alone are proof of the Moorish indigenous status to the continental Americas. Noble Drew Ali taught the Moors, she, the earth, is your home and gave you the body from her womb. The universe, as far as your eyes can see, is just the road to your vast estate. But this is a new age, and the spirit of Aquarius has already made her debut of higher thought activity among men in flesh. Today, there are many to the families of nation, each claiming a portion of the land named after themselves. And although this is not man's final abode, without a doubt, nationality is the order of the day. Is it not strange this nationality was the key deprivation to the Moorish enslavement? Is it not equally strange every person on earth has a nationality except those descendants of slaves still in the United States of America? Nationality is the axis that pivots all governments. It sustains commodity among the nations, for former families of the earth are now recognized as nations, even to the smallest tribe, as the Pequot's nation of the Connecticut River, Foxwood Casino et al. Are only about 500 citizens, small by comparison, but still a nation. It is sad but true. NBCs are 60 million strong, authors' estimates. But if you see 50 or more together for a duration exceeding 12 hours, it's because they are attending church or some other festival. Chinese make up 25% of the Earth's population with about 1.15 billion, still a nation. The continent of Africa is home to 53 countries, totaling hundreds of nations. So-called black people of North America are nearly 60 million strong, yet not a nation, and the only one not attached to the human families and nations. Is there something in error with this picture? Author's notes. The Moorish is 60 million when they count themselves. Their enemy will always generously record the 3/5 of the whole. Everyone is descended from forefathers and born into nations. Nations are determined by genealogy of the parents and the sovereignty in which they are born. The foundation of this acceptance and recognition is a necessity spurned, is a necessity. Everyone is a descendant from forefathers and born into a nation. Nations are determined by genealogy of the parents and the sovereignty in which they are born. The foundation of this acceptance and recognition is a necessity spurned from global expansion of the human race in accordance to their national vine and fig tree. More simply, are recognized. One's nationality is one's true identity. No one can honestly deny that, as the label on the face of a product identifies the item for the consumer, like so, a nationality identifies the total character of a nation. As no one will see the value of an improperly named product, likewise, no nation has genuine trust for an improperly labeled people. The one free national name of a nation is not accidental words that just happen to pop up into the minds of the people. Such historical names often derives from the lands of origin, patriotic forefathers, and incorporates the divine and natural ethnology of an especial people. This is why Noble Drew Ali, an angel of Allah, declared, this is a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. Act 6. What government on earth recognizes the Negro, black, colored as a people? The question remains, Who are the Moorish Americans? How can they have the continuity of a nation and not be known? Actually, the Moorish existence has undergone a massive European Arabian historical burial, especially during the periods between 1398 and 1998. There are 66 books compiling the Bible. 39 of these house the Old Testament, which itself is founded upon books taken from the Jewish holy book called the Torah. The majority of the books to the Old Testament reflects the historical and prophetic accounts from the 12 tribes of Israel, known collectively as Hebrews. Basically, it is their story that covers the time period from 3700 BC to 168 BC. Moorish history predates biblical history in excess of 5 million years. By no accurate claim is the Bible the only historical account of the human family. It is not the true beginning. Therefore, it is not the word of the great God. In fact, it is not even the word of the Hebrews, but the word of the Greeks of Europe. See religion. It is a sign of a major prophet to leave a book containing a portion of the one truth brought through his people at that time. There are many books omitted from the Bible for various reasons, mainly because no prophet brought the Bible, nor was it ordained by the great God to be bound into a book. Indeed, each book was brought to a nation called tribes by their prophet for their salvation and commodity. The foundation of the Bible, known as the Septuagint, Greek Biblios, was the Greeks' translation of the Hebrew holy books. This was during the time when Greek had become the official language of Palestine. Why is Palestine and pale skin harmonious? Noble Drew Ali speaks of this period. Question: why did Allah send Yehoshua to this earth? Answer: to save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time. The greatest omitted cover-up throughout the Bible through the Greeks' connection was the presence of the African people and the Moabite Canaanite genealogy of Yehoshua. Yet, these olive-skinned tribes and nations founded over 90% of biblical history. Also, for those readers who are Bible oriented, it would help them if they notice more closely every beget, or begotten therein are through a nation, descendant, or tribal name, not by color or label. This explains why there are no Negroes, colored, or black folks in the Bible or pre-United States history. Only the pale-skinned Gentiles of Japheth are the exception. In fact, the purpose of translation of the nations of Europe were removing the great moral, historical, and ancestral I never could pronounce this word. Sinews of the biblical characters. They were completely cut off from obtaining many other books and over half of the life of Yehoshua, 18 missing years, until the advent of Prophet Noble Drew Ali in Egypt. Actually, the prophet of Allah revealed the reason these lessons, the genealogy of Yehoshua with 18 years of events, lives, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age, which were secret lessons for all those who love Yehoshua. Have never been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. Naturally, King James, the strange forefather of the notorious Frank and Jesse James, and his Shakespearean posse were the chief purloiners of the Moorish existence in the Bible. But there is no death to truth. Although man may disguise it for a minute, so the Moabites from Adam through Boaz by Ruth to Yehoshua are there for the seekers of truth. Trace their tree of nationalities for the facts. And with this conclusion, I would like to turn this meeting over to Dendra Neokurtabay, Islam, guys.
Islam, 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 God man, and I will continue. The Arabian European defacement of the Moors. It is always a shocking awakening when anyone views the so-called African American historical slave trade down the noses of Arabian culture. What most NBC people fail to realize, especially those who have so blindly rushed the wrath of their hearts into the swamp of what they think is orthodox Sunni Islam. A person would find it about as difficult to separate Arabs from trading in slavery in Africa as deciphering wet from water. Although Africa are the paternal fathers and mothers of the people of ancient Havilah, Arabia, the geology of their sun-kissed parents had been openly despised into the caste system of perpetual dehumanization. For many, commercial trade routes centered in the goddamn desert of Arabia were littered open air market, traveling traders and businessmen to and from the known world. Naturally, profits breed greed, which creates massive egos that leads to theft and murder. Nothing and no one were exempt from being sold or bought. Commodities, livestock, women, children, and men. While it is true, Muhammad chose Islam from among the African religion. For this, his people of Arabia, the new Arabs, converts Muslim would only lay down their lust for trade during Shalat, prayer. Outside the collective 30 to 45 minutes of daily mandatory prayer times, the kidnapping, dehumanizing, and selling of Africans has been considered a part of Arabia's GNP. In fact, what is undoubtedly suffered as slavery by today's American NBC has been a natural part of Arab's psyche. To the most upright Arab Muslim, the enslavement of infidels is a moral obligation, and above all other human excuses to sell their African brothers has been deminutely understood as doing the will of Allah. For those who do not know, it was the old Arab trade that taught the Roman Pope and their posse of Christianity crusaders the art of African trade. From the 1920s to the late 1990s, this Arabian peddling art of direct sales by horse and wagon was so widely used in most urban cities and rural communities for the selling of everything from seafood to dry goods until most NBC commodities colloquially called their business Arabing. They would yell, get yourself watermelon red to the wine. beyond the world's greatest kept secret of worldwide suppression of the missing 18 years of Yehoshua's life, purposely omitted from the Bible, and the mystery of the true identity of the so-called American Negro, Black African slave trading. Nobody wants to dialogue about the topic. It is considered politically incorrect for the Western world's power to diverge the Arab influence into their internal affairs, and somehow it has become an unsung secret hidden well beneath the First Amendment's freedom of religion. To revere Arabian contribution to the denationalization of the West Africans so they could be reduced into slavery as Negroes, Blacks, and colored people. Denationalization is the true legal definition hidden within the 3/5 clause of the U.S. Constitution and the word person as used in its 14th Amendment. Noble Drew Ali said, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact they did not honor the principles of their forefathers. But what makes the children of Arabia such great slavers of so many African nations? When the old-time religion was first introduced through Prophet Muhammad as Islam, its light revealed Meccans Arabian merchants as expert slave traders. Today, most Muslims will speak proudly of Bilal as being the first convert to Islam under Prophet Muhammad's dispensation. Oh, did I mention Bilal was a slave from the East African kingdom of Assyrians, Ethiopia, Ethiopia? Brother Bilal was in fact an Assyrian national, but also a slave in the market of Mecca prior to their resurrection of Islam. There was no mistaking the tribal origin of Bilal because he was of such ripe olive, dark skin, until his hands were the same sun-kissed hue on both sides. This African national in light of Muhammad is the most renowned Muslim in the history of modern Islam. One would think, with all the Islamic holy smoke of piety, Bilal would be the last African subjected to Arabian slavery. Right? Wrong. Arabs are addicted to the enslavement of spiritual human beings. Historically, Africans have been the preferred delicacy for the grotesque Arabian appetite. It is the so-called ex-slave American Muslim converts who are completely ignorant of this nearly 3,000-year-old predator that now comes under the holy cloak of al-Islam. It is in the chameleon nature of any man or a people without the knowledge of the self to assume any surviving role of their environment. Acceptance of the very marks NBC family implies I have no idea who I am. Still, it does not take a master historian to see the infinite grace and force of Islam. The world's first religious creed has never changed the old Arab lust for enslaving Africans. Actually, Islam has been used by Arabs to subjugate the earth's population into either an Arabian thought pattern or be classified as infidels, Iblis or Satan, to be looked down at as being 6 inches lower than a whale's turd. Superstitious Arabians think a non-Arab cannot be worthy of being a true Orthodox Sunni Muslim. This is why Noble Jew Ali instruct to think not with Arabia. The underlying point to be made here is this: Bilal was not the last East African to be enslaved through Arabia, not by a long shot. Who are the cities of India? The cities, pronounced Shiddish, of India are descendants of East African slaves, sometimes servants, sailors, merchants, and Muslims returning from the Hajj that had been captured, transported by boats, and sold in Hindu India, princes by Muslim Arab trademen. From the early 5th century of pre-Muhammadan years to the 15th century, long before the selling of the first African slave ship to the Americas, the Arabs, now with the Holy Quran in hand, were selling indigenous people of East Africa as slaves to India. The cities of India and the Negroes, black, and colored people of North America have a lot more in common than any other people in the history of mankind enslaving man. Like the NBC, excuse me, like the NBC, the cities have no memory of African ancestry or tribal lineage. They have lost all knowledge that all members of the human family are those bearing one free national name. Both people, although a half globe apart, have been denationalized, socially prostituted, and permanently rejected as alien citizenry at the abolishment of their institution of slavery. Needful to say, the Arab thieves who stole them, who stole them treasure monetary profit for far more than the future of their human prey. A author's note: the truth of Arabian insensitivity toward their darker-skinned African brother is the hardest lesson to teach to the NBC, especially those who have converted to what they think is Islam and know everything about Arabia, from Arab to Prophet Muhammad, yet have no knowledge of their nationality, self, inheritance, or people. Without these divine and natural rights, the so-called African Americans are as asleep, fatted for re-enslavement by Islam. The African Aborigine of the Indian subcontinent are the first true indigenous inhabitants of what is now called India. Drew Ali referred to them in his questionnaire under the African part of Adam and Eve. They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, went into Asia. See appendix. As most Africans, the Negro tribes, people were very white, dark, olive skin with woolly hair. Some are found today in the hills and interiors of India. The current inhabitants, with varying degrees of melanin and straighter hair, derived through amalgamation with immigrants, Dravidians, Aryans, Huns, Mogars, Arabs, and Greeks. We cannot omit the injected strand by the British, Portuguese, and French. Needless to say, Africans from eastern Egypt to Tripoli and Algeria, coupled with merchants sailing from China, Japan, almost Bengal, and the Orient made India a cultural melting pot for many centuries before the European discovery of America. Another origin of the cities is many of them were originally from North Nigeria, but were later kidnapped upon returning from their Hajj, a required parenthesis at least once in a Muslim lifetime pilgrimage to Mecca by Arab parenthesis who else slave traders. The Nigerian government reported these non-defective losses after many of their nationals did not return from this sacred Hajj. The chief Islamic government of Sunni Arabia had hosted the Hajj since the era of Muhammad. To say these disappearance of African souls into Arabia soils are mere coincidences. After due diligence consideration of the Arabian African slave trade history is to deny the little boy with the Quran hidden behind his back is also the one who threw the rock. Noble Drew Ali, the first Muslim to lawfully bring Islam into the United States, cautioned the ex-slaves of America, if you are not careful, your own brother will enslave you again. The Arabian slave masters featured the eastern seaboard African slave trade several centuries before their great Ma'afa of the Atlantic pogrom of West African nationals. In fact, the greater part of the African city slave trade placed the taste of sweet honey in the rock into the mouths of the future world's most renowned slavers from Portugal, Britain, France, and Holland. On the other side of that coin, the Arabs are revealed plainly before the face of Islam as having full knowledge of the denationalizing genocide into which they had sold their African brothers. The evil mechanism of systemized chattel slavery can literally make an entire people vanish from the face of the earth. Still, at the same time, leave this self of a nation free to walk among upright men under the assumption of equality. The denationalization of human beings is both sinful and criminal. The horror of any denationalization process is its main object, to systematically obscure or eradicate the true identity of its victims. To denationalize a person or people is equivalent to skinning them, thus leaving them alive, yet marked, isolated from all other nationals and vulnerable to every harmful condition, because their skinning was performed under the color of law. The denationalized believe they have the same protection as those with skin. Drew Ali described this state in a 1928 address. In all other governments, when a man is born and reared there and asks his name and national descent and fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fails to govern you must claim your free national name and descent, because they place their trust upon issues and names that are not a part and parcel of, neither were they formed by their forefathers. The Arabians' lust for money, heritage, and power had rendered them completely insensitive to civil and inalienable rights of all non-Arabs, especially Africans. Therefore, they care less as to what happened to their victims once sold into slavery. It is the nature of black market dealers, example given drugs, weapons, slaves, etc., to completely detach themselves from the merchandise once it has been sold for the agreed price. After all, the products were either purchased by them at a lesser price or stolen for the sole purpose of profit. The Shadish, although mostly found in the western Indian state of Gujarat, the village of Jumbar, deep in the Gir forest, is one of the more exclusive city settlements. Through the centuries of Shadish have become divided among themselves and are known as Shiddish Kafirs and other misnomers. Shiddish, like the NBC, was sewn into the hams of social fabric as irresponsible, lazy, naturally athletic, and above all, not worthy of trust. The government of India, similar to the USA, expects the denationalized ex-slave community to change their pending current political, social, and financial status by conforming to the status quo. Basically, the shitties are commonly known as the untouchables and are literally treated accordingly. This means no upright citizen would dare communicate themselves by touching a citizen. If they have something to give to them, if it is always tossed on the ground for them to pick up after they give it a safe distance away. Wow. Knowing this is like expecting the ass to catch up with the carrot that has been purposely placed within its sight but outside of its reach. This is impossible. That is until they grow their own skin. Speaking of skin, the skin game, known as the Varna color system, was enacted during the reign of Akbar, the Mughal Emperor of India. Some historians, unbeknownst of the 16th century evil, thought Jim Crow and apartheid was rooted in European America and South Africa. Actually, the shittists could rewrite the book on history of segregation. Islam. I will now turn everything over to our National Grand Secretary of State, Dr. Hatshepsut Tukankamen Bey. Are you there, Goddess?
Islam, gratitude.
Gratitude.
Islam, kin and family, rising, giving praises to Allah, honor to our Prophet, honor to our ears class, all those that open our meeting according to law, honor to Act 1 and to our host. Another hiding of the Moors. Make no mistake about it, the greatest hiding of the Moors is the mental slavery which shields them away from being themselves. Another hiding of the Moors came in the shadow of the Arabian conquest of Africa, which was heavily interwoven with their spread of their cultist version of Islam. National and religious vanity had overtaken Arabia virtually as soon as the Holy Prophet Muhammad left his body of flesh, 632 AD. The Arabian version of Islam was not practiced the same as originally taught to Muhammad by the angelic Egyptian referred to as the angel Jibril or Gabriel. Pure Islam is oblivious to sex and carnal boundaries. Yet today there are Sunni, Shiites, Sufis, Moorish science, nations of Islam named among the many. Ironically, not one of these sects respects any of the others because each one is, quote unquote, the original. Multiple conflicts were spurned between devout Muslims and the bloodline Muslims of his immediate family, as to which was the most pious to spread the perfectly transliterated religion of Islam. Whenever successorship of divinity becomes a question, it is because human ego, like a black cloud, has hidden Allah from the hearts of men. See Appendix, Moorish Holy Quran 1-6. One side said, Allah fulfilled his covenant to Abraham, and through Africa's Egyptian Hagar, her son Ishmael is the grand forefather of Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Wives, his children, descendants, and we are the rightful heirs of his estate, Islam. The others proclaimed, it is we who were the first of the believers, parentheses, Muslims, to submit their will to Allah, and we were there to transcribe the Holy Quran, what the angel Gabriel had told Muhammad to read. We heard and obeyed when he was rejected by Meccans and Arabia. This feud of the Blessed Ones took on an earthbound contention of think like Arabia, dress like the Arabs, attached to the religious saturation of Islam. It also caused the commentaries and translations of the Holy Quran to compete with the Hadiths, parentheses, verbal accounts of the life of the messenger, to impact before the true teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. These undercurrent rivalries later produced sects among Muslim nationals and communities. Meanwhile, sects are strictly forbidden in the religion of Islam, Surah 42, 12-14. Just the same, today's results show there are Sunni, Shiite, Sufi, and dozens more in America and the world. Indeed, this has led to wars between Islamic governments and the 1987 mass murders of pilgrims at the sacred Kaaba, the center of purity for Muslims worldwide. Arabs, although marvelous historians, often misplace the fact they were the very last of the polytheistic nations of East Africa to embrace the monotheistic way of life. In fact, prior to the divine advent of Muhammad I, there were more man-made deities in Arabia than waterholes. They had 360 gods at the Kaaba alone. The people of ancient Havilah, or Arabia, especially the seeds of Hagar's Ishmael, were among the first to digress by holding steadfast to the fall of Adam. Today, Muslims the world over, especially the blessed Arabians, need to abandon the antiquated custom of enslaving people and killing, parentheses, execute others after Juma, then think they are doing the will of Allah or adhering to the Holy Quran. It is tragic and sinful for the great people of Arabia to have one of the noblest prophets of all times to be born amongst them and still cling to carnal-minded principles that delude to the institutions of human slavery. No, notwithstanding, this thinking is an error and in violation of the ordinances of the great God Allah. Islamism, spiritual science, and the first religious creed founded by the ancient Africans for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. See Appendix, Moorish Holy Quran 48-6. It was later developed through the wisdom of the Egyptians, Chinese, Japanese, and adepts of India as a know thyself art through meditation called the straight way from man to God. Over 5,000 years later, the great Prophet Muhammad was sent by Allah to return and perfect, parentheses, translate into Arabic, this same religion, and he named it Islam. Islam in the Arabic language means peace. Yep, the same shalom on earth that Prophet Yehoshua spoke in the Hebrew language of the Jews, although he spoke Aramaic. The words of Noble Drew Ali must be driven at this point when he wrote, the Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites, and the founders of the holy city of Mecca, Moorish Holy Quran 45:2, and the same forefathers who are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed, Moorish Holy Quran 48:6. These Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa, they were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. This empire included the kingdoms founded with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Appendix Moorish Holy Quran 47:6. The Moroccan Empire, see map page 207, extended from Egypt land westward, following the shorelines of the Mediterranean around the Rock of Gibraltar to the Atlantic and all shoreland southwestern to the Capes, rounding the southernmost tip of Africa. The grandeur of the Moroccan Empire and its multiplicity of expanding kingdoms, today called countries of Northwest and Southwest Africa, was inhabited with cities, universities, and villages with customs and trades. These were in place for thousands of years before the spread of Islam, the Ottoman Empire, etc. Truth is most Africans called it Egypt of the West. The Moors, with a mixture of ancient and Arabian Islam as their religion, conquered Spain and European countries as far north as Ireland and were heavily influenced with Moorish architect and cultures. However, some of the Moors held firm to the inherent truth of the forefathers, while others were, quote unquote, persuaded to become denationalized and accepted Arabia as the government. While it is true, all Moors embraced Islam and acknowledged Muhammad as the messenger of Allah, it was the strangely mixed demand of, quote unquote, Arab nationality which created a split among the citizens of the various kingdoms. To demand the impossibility of changing one's nationality to that of the Arabians was and is as evil and ludicrous as demanding a Nigerian to be a Negro Christian in order to be free U.S. citizen. The Moors, who bowed down to the sultans of Arabia, were made caliphs, sheikhs, and powerful positions in the Ottoman Empire, which was headed by the Turks of Istanbul. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief, mufti, protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca. Appendix Moorish Holy Quran 45:7. Bear in mind, there is nothing wrong with Islam now or ever. Still, Islam and other religions have historically been misused and used as bait to conceal carnal hooks of men and nationalisms. The divine instructions from the Holy Prophet clearly ask, would the fish swallow the bait if he knew the hook were hidden therein? Moorish Holy Quran 39:7. Hence, it was the military cohesion of the Christian Crusaders, with the aforementioned Bible in hand, and the Islamic Arab Moors, which joined forces in Granada, Spain, and not only defeated the Moorish descendants of the ancient Moabites, but actually began the African slave trade with the hostages. 1492 AD. The religious purloiners of European and Arabs that began destroying the world's knowledge of the achievements of civilization and ancestral knowledge of the then defenseless Moors. After all, the Christians and the Muslims of the 14th and 15th century were the world's ruling military powers. Yet they were religious and national enemies. Nonetheless, it's not uncommon for the staunchest foes to bond together in gaining a common objective, and to this day, the only thing these powers agree upon is the subjugation of the Moorish peoples. For any human entity to completely conquer a people, it is the destruction of their accomplishments and history which gives precedence to the finale of their victory. So what happened to the torchbearers of civilization? The ancient ones, the gods of the Nile, the Sunni man, the ancient Moabites who were later called the Atlanteans, Moors of Morocco, and Mauritania's Hieratians. Actually, the only people who truly do not know who the Moorish Americans are the Moorish Americans themselves. Today, there are those in full knowledge of who the ex-slave in America truly is. However, most of them have taken blood oaths to swear never to tell before they die. This evil may not seem too bad when it's compared to certain Negro, Black, and colored male persons who take the same damn oaths, yet do not have a clue to the fact it is they who are the secret. Still, among those that know are the Pope of Rome, the heads of Mecca, Egypt, and the Islamic world, especially. Furthermore, when a Mason becomes a cut above 32nd degree Shriner or 33rd, they too are given the true name of the Hiram whom they have buried in the shallow grave. Therefore, many officials within the USA know who the Moorish are, see Freemasonry. But this focus is upon the Islamic community, which is spreading like sunlight in the West. Although there are millions of ex-slaves in America, whom have embraced Islam, not one imam, parentheses Islamic minister, has taught them their nationality since the Sultan Abdul Aziz Ibn Saud acknowledged the prophethood of noble Sharif Dur Ali in 1911 AD. This honorable sultan is a direct descendant of Hagar and the head of the holy city of Mecca, Moorish Holy Quran, page 2. The kingdom of Saudi Arabia was named in honor of the Saudis al-Mamlaka al-Arabia as-Saudiyah. He was the only true Muslim guided by Allah to not only confirm the history and ancestral identity of the Moorish to Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, parentheses Noble Dur Ali, but empowered him to teach Islamism as the old-time religion. Questions 17 through 18. To his nation, Moorish Holy Quran, page 2. His message is called the Great Prophet of Ali. As another point of interest, the extent of an Arab country is limited to the peninsula of Arabia itself. It is purely a European influence to call the many other countries governed by the Holy Quran and therefore Arab countries. The proper term used to describe countries under the Holy Quran is they are all Islamic countries. At the very most, their national name, example given Egypt, Morocco, Iran, etc., honor that portion of the mother which gives them suck. Appendix chapter 25. And Islam is their chosen or designated religious path governed by Allah. But they are not Arab countries. Only Europeans say this. Needful to say, the nation of Moorish Americans, being a pure and clean nation, will also be Islamic and a divine government. But it will not be Arabia, Arab, or Arabian. As for the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Arabia, if they can keep the secret of the 18 years of the life of Yehoshua from the nations of Europe, and that he did not die on the cross, Quran, Surah 4, 157, then, being a little hush mouth about a mere 500 million ancestors being enslaved, could pose no problem, especially when they were either the sellers and or owners of the slaves. After all, it does stand to reason a seller is aware of the history and subsequent value of his product. So who else other than Allah would know the true identity better than those who took it away? One need only ask those that know law. In other words, Arabs should be the best knower of the identity of the slaves they sell, when Moors were sinners. A sinner is one who violates the universal and natural laws of their divine creator. A criminal is one who abuses the laws of men. Needful to say, for those that know how man is put together, realize it's a lot easier to become a sinner than a criminal, simply because a sin lies in the wish and in the desire of man, not in the act, whereas a crime is an act already committed and annexed with a conviction and punishment. The latter is usually contingent upon the suspect being caught, convicted and confined, parentheses, or executed before labeled a criminal. The former actually marks his or herself by their own unnatural and ungodly thoughts. It is often said, to the victor goes the spoils, and being conquerors in Europe for over 800 years, 711 through 1492 AD, made heroes of the Moors. A hero is a character bubbled by public in a weakness of the times. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 42 through 6. True history does not always taste sweet in the mouth of the present. Most human failures are based upon the repetitions to past abuses of man's will to be himself or other than self. Still, slavery, like it or not, has always been a divine issue. It is Allah's way of reproving his children, parentheses, nations, and cannot be understood by the finite thoughts of carnal men. From an infinite point of view, man has the right to be himself. After all, man is made in the image and after the likeness of God, Allah. Questions 90 through 91. He was created to be the Lord of the plane of soul and all things, including his own manifest. But the Sunni man did, in fact, give up his birthright just to gratify his lower self. See chapter 1. The Moors became very complacent while in Spain and within the 100-mile core of coastal interiors to North, Central, and Southwest Africa, exchanged their creed, Islamism, and principles of their forefathers to accept the nations, customs, and gods of Europe. The Moors knew nothing about these gods with such powers of allurements, but have cores of lewdness, murder, theft, and harmfulness. Many Moors had become Christians, Spaniards, Romans, French, British, Irish, etc., and had misplaced their keys of civilization and had become disrespectful to Islamism. From the scope of ages, it was the duty of the ancient Moabites to civilize the lands of their earth with the harmonies of life and return again, according to the unfolding consciousness of man, to realign their postulates for the coming age. This is why our ancient forefathers established civilization here in North, South, and Central America 16,000 years before Christopher Columbus discovered us, already using our continents and islands. This is how the Moors acquired the name time travelers and seafarers, parentheses, humanity movers. With the advent of our Prophet Muhammad and the sign of the last quarter moon and star, the final stage of perfect consciousness, paradise for man, see signs and symbols, the tribes of the Moorish and West Africa knew the times of the Enlightenment age were in the hands, subhanAllah, Moors were in their hands, and to bring it to the Western Hemisphere. But the Moorish got, quote unquote, caught up in the apples of Europe, which were lovely to the eye and pleasant to the smell. Their cores are full of bitterness and gall. Moorish Holy Quran 3:12 through 13. The families of nations are the children of Allah. Each, according to their own vine and fig tree, has a specific duty to reveal the part of Allah by the name of Allah in which they have. Moorish Holy Quran 10:18. The duty of the Moorish has eternally been the deliverance of wisdom for the civilizing of men on earth. See, pure and clean nation of this chapter. The Moors became sinners and subsequent criminals when they failed in this inherent obligation. And, in layman's terms, the God of their forefathers spiked their sinning Moorish asses with the wrath of slavery. In this respect, the Europeans, Jews, and Arabians were but instruments of the great God, used to move the hands in the clock of destiny to their proper hour. The Moors reaped their own divine punishment. The Moorish, being the founders of Islam, became sinners when they became other than images of God. They actually requisitioned their own enslavement. They were the first to know the answer to Allah's question, "Where are you, Adam?" See Adam and Eve, Genesis. The Moors were found not on their divine job. Plus, the Moors had adopted slavery. Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali wrote in his little book of men, through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. Moorish Holy Quran 47, 16, 17. Noble Drew Ali said, the Europeans went to the Sultan of Morocco and asked for permission to come over to West Africa, parentheses, America, to develop this land. They were granted a 50-year mandate to do so. Then, the European went to an old Sheikh Caliph of Tripoli and asked him to give them some people to help them to build the Westmorelands. The Sheikh told them to take those Moors because they are not being industrious. In the due course of justice, all things are placed in their true harmony with life. Therefore, as the Moorish awaken from their grave of mental slavery, it is paramount, with love at its highest, to balance the scales to their enslavement with correct resolutions. Moorish Holy Quran 41, 6 through 13. They must learn to love instead of hate. If one points one's finger of scorn to the participants of their enslavement, it will leave 3 fingers of irresolution aimed at oneself. It is a sin to be black. All people who claim the slave names of Negro, black, and colored, knowing the era of slavery abolished these labels with the institution of slavery, 1865, still live in sin. The noble prophet said these names have never done them any good, but has always harmed them. They know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into the utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of actions, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerners for all these great misuses, parentheses, the use of the Negro, black, colored slave names. But I, Noble Drew Ali, have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. This is why Noble Drew Ali said it is a must for all Moorish Americans to keep their hearts and minds pure with love, to learn to love instead of hate. Hell, it was self-hate which caused our last fall. Can this be denied? The nations of the earth today are uncivilized and are at seen and unseen wars. They await and are in need of the return of the ancient ones. What modern nations call civilized today is in fact life in reverse. The last prophet in these days recites, thine entrance into the world, is it not shameful? Thy destruction, is it not glorious? Lo, men adorn the instruments of death with gold and gems, and wear them above their garments. He who begetteth a man hideth his face, but he who killeth 1,000 is honored. Know thou, notwithstanding, that this is an error. Custom cannot alter the nature of truth, neither can the opinion of man destroy justice. The glory and the shame are misplaced. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 44, ayats 4 through 7. Still, This is what is labeled as quote unquote civilized by the nations in the mirrors of today. Yet, amidst this rocky surface rests the Moorish Americans, Islam. So at this time, we want to turn the meeting back into the hands of our host instructor, National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedawa Menti El Mohedid Shepsuel. Islam?
Islam, can you hear me, Grand National Secretary of the State?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Gratitude. Islamism without the schism. Well, having already risen, we continue to rise in ascension and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution, and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything. And I do mean everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to welcome our Moorish kin to another Egyptian ADEPTUS Research Sultanate session. And I am your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Amohadi Shabazz El. My ancient committee and high name being the same as Dr. Shedawa Menti El Mohedid Shepsuel. And we have a grand drawing to bring on the manifest Moorish kin, most definitely. You already know that we are on a grand level when it comes to dealing with, what is known as the Egyptian language, the Medu and Kemet and proper. So we have some grand drawings to bring forth to you and really bring our people into a clear conception, of a grand work, because we got a lot of work to do, Moorish kin, when it comes to uplifting our people and uplifting fallen humanity. So there are no strange happenings. There are no strange happenings. We will be continuing where we left off at. We'll actually revisit, the measure where I had went into my transliteration, and we want to go back over certain measures just to give our family who may be new, that may be watching the channel, some insight into exactly what it is that we demonstrate. And we have begun in our processes of transliteration of the text, and we went back to one of the oldest attestations, tested texts, the facsimile of the Papyri Prissi, and so we have that, and we also have the pseudo-hieroglyphic transcription that was created later. And, we have proved this, so we don't even have to go back and forth anymore, and for those who continue to hold on to, what they have been taught and don't want to learn, then it is what it is. But at this particular time period, we are most definitely here to continue moving forward. We are now in these documents, and we're going to go into a little bit today. We have our own methodology, and this methodology has not been taught to us by no European institutions or even the modern day chematologists, self-proclaimed chematologists among our people, because they had no methodology to deal with the transliteration of what we call Medu and Kemet. They don't even have a methodology when it comes to dealing with their so-called decipherment of Egyptian hieroglyphs, because their methodology, the one that they have, is come from the European. It comes from Champollion. And that methodology, we have proven time and time again, did not exist during the time of the ancient Egyptians, because there was no alphabet chart in the form that you have today that was created until Champollion created the alphabet chart, not from the ancient Egyptian monuments, but he created his alphabet chart based upon Ptolemaic monuments, which didn't even exist during the time of our ancient ancestors. So this There's enough, and we can go into showing you, even in many different aspects, which we have. We got receipt upon receipts. And when we, like we said in our last session, when we go into a lot of this information from the standpoint of looking at it through the eyes of the Germans and the French, the Russians, even the text that we have, when we transliterate these things, we find that they were pretty much honest with where these things come from. They told us that, they didn't come up with these transcriptions until after the 19th century, during and after the 19th century. That means that they definitely didn't exist during the time of the ancient Egyptians, which again, we know they couldn't have existed because the monuments that was used by Champollion to come up with his decipherment did not exist in ancient Kemet. They didn't exist, when the book of Ptahhotep was first wrote. They didn't exist when the first book of Coming Forth by Day, was transcribed. I'm talking about the original Hieratic papyri. They couldn't even make it up into the time of dealing with Demotic. Less known going back into the Hieratic or the Medu Kemet, and Demotic is known as the second Inshet. That's the proper name. We want our people to have this knowledge when they deal with this, so you can correct those. We use the term Demotic, our uncordial, for the reference of those who might not even be familiar with Demotic. But, these are the terms they use. So we are really trying to take this thing back to what it was. And so through the process, we have to basically do what they did to undo what they did, so to speak. Our holy prophet said the only way out of the fire is through the fire. And the only way out of our enslavement, is basically going back, tracing ourselves back. So the European has reverse engineered, their own version of our language. We talk about this over and over. We already have the terms that we use for it. Not only that, but this is a scholastic term that's used for it, unbeknownst to many of our people. One of them mainly is pseudo-hieroglyphs, which is what we know today. Those pictures, the way the Europeans try to use them to be. We're not calling the images created by our ancestors pseudo-hieroglyphs. We are calling the European version of creating a language, and trying to say that they have deciphered some pseudo-hieroglyphs, because it's only right if, in fact, the Europeans call the Hebrew glyphs that they created with pictures pseudo-hieroglyphs, which they do in the scholastic community. If they call the Meroitic, which were created by the Cushites, if they call that a pseudo-hieroglyph, alphabet. And they even call the one that Champollion created a pseudo-hieroglyphic alphabet. We are just the ones to bring this to the forefront. Any transcription from the original language, the Medu and Kemet, into pictures, Medu, this is pseudo-hieroglyphs. Like I said, not the pictures themselves, but the methodology and the way in which the European has presented this information to the people. And so one can easily get it confused, because they will say, well, these images existed for a long time. They was there at this particular time. But when you go into pyramids, there are no pyramids. When you go into them and look at, what you call glyphs upon the walls, you see, at least the other portion. Now you have coffins, in the subterranean vaults, that have certain things inscribed in the coffins, but on the pyramids, themselves, you won't find this type of stuff, So even though they refer to certain things as pyramid text, they always talking about what they found in a tomb or a coffin or whatever the case, but they wasn't dealing with no communication, that deal with day-to-day life, and how they live their lives, so to speak, you won't find that type of stuff there. You'll find measures that they would say this is ceremonial drawings here and there and there, and then when you look at the time cap on these demonstrations, they don't line up. But that's a whole nother measure. So we just got to know history, got to be able to trace ourselves back, do the research, and we can't go wrong. So we got a little ground to cover, like I said, and we're going to go into it at this particular point. And want to give honors to our Grand National Chairman for the Book of Fire, for always making it plain. Because we know that we are the return of the ancient ones, and everything that we have is also a part and partial of that return. So what we touched on in our last class, and this is simplicity here. This is how evil, not evil, but it is some evil that they done. But this is how easy it is, for us to deal with, seeing what was said here. And I ain't gonna do this whole thing here. I can read some of this stuff, even though I don't know this language per se, going into every aspect of it. Some words just stick out because it's close to our language. But what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you how easy. And I'm not gonna do this through the whole measure here because this is not what I'm trying to do right now. But I'm gonna show you, how you can find out what has been done, so to speak. So what we do, you already seen it. We can go right here. Let's see. We're just gonna go to Google Translate real quick. Listen for people. Now, this take time and patience now. See what it says, the tech language. Let me share my screen too. Well, it's already shared, but I'm going to have to, let me make sure that, okay, yeah, it's shared. It's still shared. Okay, so let me do this real quick. But I'm still going to have to do this anyway, so let me do this. Make sure that it changes when we do this. Okay, so we're going to go to entire screen. We're going to share this again. Okay. All right. And so hit this again. Google Translate. So you have the tech language over here. So it automatically normally, they say that's too much, too many characters, right? They exceeded the amount of characters. So I'm going to take a little bit of this out of here. Let's see what happened. Okay, went too far down there. And this is just an introduction, family, that they're giving here. Okay, so they're telling us here, the introduction of the Prissy Papyrus and the origin of the papyri. The Papyri of Prissy, for those people who don't know, is the book of Tahotep, which is called the oldest book in the world. So we started with the oldest source. At this time, Champollion's alphabet chart didn't exist, people. And also, he didn't even go to Egypt to look at the monuments. He used a copy of a Rosetta Stone, and we already see the Rosetta Stone was also doctored. It's a lot of stuff that was taken off of certain portions and edited and everything else. Goodness gracious, the remix is real. So it says the introduction of the Prissy Papyrus, of the origin of papyrus, when Prissy the Avenus, this is the guy, purchased the papyri, which would later bear his name. He could not, as usual in such cases, obtain no information on his origin and where he had been discovered. However, as he was rummaging, it says, through the Theban necropolis at Dra Abul Nega, and that the seller was of his workers, he was convinced that the scroll came from a tomb opened by him and stolen from him. He believed, like he told Shabazz, that this manuscript had been part of the funerary of one of the Antifs from the 11th century dynasty, of which he had discovered the grave shortly before. This hypothesis, which has not been contested, is fully justified, and if the text dates back to the Old Kingdom, the papyri itself, judging by its format as well as by the character, paleographic writing is undoubtedly a little earlier to literary manuscripts from the 12th century and dynasty, and therefore date back to the beginning of the first Theban kingdom. This papyri, donated by Prissy to the National Library, is part of the collection of Egyptian manuscript where it bears the notes. And let me pull this other portion in here. I got to go back and get a little bit, get this piece off of here. So, okay, here it is right there. It comes right here. Pull it down a little bit. Yeah, they ain't let me get everything. I'm gonna try to go by periods. That way it end on a. Come on, yeah. Okay, we'll go up with it, and we'll start by right here because that's where it's actually starting at. Come on now, what you got going on there? Grab it, I say. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's hit it. Okay, there we go. Copy. Okay, so let me go ahead. And we do see that this is French. This is French. Okay, so it says, we would like to express here the gratitude to the management of the Department of Manuscripts who kindly provided us with available. It said this papyrus, and we authorize ourselves to reproduce it. You know, publications in 1847, the manuscript was published under the following title: Facsimile from an Egyptian papyrus in hieratic characters found in Thebes and given at the National Library of Paris by E.A.R.S, the Avenis. It says, without no text, even without preface, the beautiful lithographed plates to the size of original offer reproduction of the most faithful, and there barely remain a few doubtful signs. And we can say that alongside other lithographic reproductions of papyrus, this one is definitely the best. She was moreover poured to a very small number of copies, has been out of print for a very long time, and almost impossible to find now, which it was, I thought I would never find it either. But being that this is one of the oldest papyrus, they say, you know that all of the other papyri that you also find, the facsimile is hieratic as well. We know this because the Chicago Library of Chicago actually has a lot of it. You know, and I have that document, that scholastic document dealing with that information. And I was able to put that information out there as well. So, you know, that's a powerful demonstration in and of itself. And we'll get into that, you know, some more times when we touch on other measures again. You know, that want to give honors for that particular document. That was the document that actually gave us a little foundation, so to speak, when it come to dealing with this information as well, because it showed the original copies of the Book of the Dead, as they like to call them. You know, that's the European terminology. It showed that, but then also it showed a couple of other books, the Book of Breathing and so forth and so on. So it says, in the Hieratic paleography of Moeller, we want to give honors to Moeller for his work, you know, because Moeller is one of the reasons why we're able to go back, you know, into, you know, one of our tools as well, you know, and we can see his attempt of trying to put certain measures on the manifest, and it led us to a certain draw, but we already know everything goes back to the hieratic. But it said excellent reproduction of the collotype of the first page of Prissy papyrus, slightly reduced. The same author gives in his Hieratic, less stucky, look like less stucky. It states two other lithograph pages, undoubtedly Tommy looked like plate 4 or something according to the publication of Prissy. We have also sometime reproduced one or several lines as a sample of Egyptian hieratic writing. Hold on translations, the moral principles contained in the Prissy papyrus constitute supposed to be probably our most difficult Egyptian literary text to translate. It say, if the general meaning is not doubtful, we find by comparing the various translations sometimes considerable divergences in the interpretation of the detail, which we seen last week, which would show that we have not yet arrived at an understanding perfect fit. So they telling you right here in this text, that basically they ain't guaranteeing you that, what they did is correct. The first serious work done on this subject, it says, because we cannot cite only to remember the fanciful translation of Dr. Heath, is the study that Shabazz published in 1858. It states the oldest book in the world, study on Prissy 4 papyrus, with the translation of a good number of passages, analysis of others, and a general overview of the whole. The translation of, look like that says Loft, it says, which dates from 1869, is published in Latin. It is complete and enriched with numerous notes. Mr. Veery consecrated in 1885 a very developed study in the papyrus Prissy. He gives alongside the transcription and its translation. It says complete those of its predecessors, all accompanied by commentary in the form of notes that followed by an index. Let's see here. I don't think they had it, whatchamacallit, so long. Basically, you can do this on your own, because I don't want to do all this reading right here. That's a lot of reading and translating. But if you want to go in here, this is the actual papyrus, a Prissy document that I was able to find. And this document, is the real facsimile, the actual facsimile of the papyrus. But we found that certain things were not as they said they were. They were not put, in the order. Yeah. So all is well. When it come down to dealing with this special measure, the papyrus Prissy, right here. And when we go into this special drawing, those scribes up here, which we'll be doing some things in a minute. Like I said, this is not the first page. Last week we put this out there, and I actually showed it. This ain't the first page as we would see it in a lot of the books when we see the books that deal with the teaching of Tahotep. This is actually the first page. And my transliteration and translation, was drawn from these 4 lines, which I get into in a minute. But we again have proven that this is the original source material. This is the primary source. And when we come back up here, like I say, this is a whole nother thing that we got to deal with in transliteration to see exactly which line this is. You know what I mean? And just by seeing it, we can see like look like big begitter, and then we see a divider here, what we call indicator here, and we'll go into that right there. Then this is I want to say kafara let me see here, and it take a little time to deal with this thing right here. This is it says maybe it says okay K. And so I'm looking at certain things, just going through here trying to see what I can identify just by looking at the letters, and we can see a lot of it, so we can deal with the transliteration. But to properly do it, it take a little time, and we're gonna go into some of that in a few minutes, to show you exactly what was done, because you got to be able to identify exactly what it is that you're looking at and what these things actually represent, and know where things separate at, and then know where the words at, you know, and that's how you really put everything together. And like I said, it's a process, because we are also learning in our process of teaching, you know, unfortunately, because there was never a time that this had been done. So praise be to Allah, you know, at least in the public, if they were doing anything. So this is the transcription of the same paper, which we went into as well. This transcription is a reproduction, so to speak, of this. And these are the same 4 lines right here that I have transliterated, which I pointed out over here. See the 1, 2, 3, and the 4 here. And I'm going to show it to you because I got it there in mind already. Let's go down here. Like I said, this is the first page here. Notice what they have on the first page here. Right? And look how far we got to go till we get to the actual first page in the order that it's been put. All the way down here to this page, which come after page 5. This is a page 4 coming after page 5. Because this page 5 is a continuation of this page 5. See, if you look at the signs down here, even though you don't know the language, look at this group of signs right here, right? Pay attention. We're going to train the eye real quick. Look at this. Make sure you look at that. This is page 5, right? Papa Prissy. And this says 2. So, and you see it right there? So why is page 5 coming before page 4? Look like somebody put something out of order. Especially when this is the first line. You know, these 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. This is the first line in this page. You see what I'm saying? So that lets you know that something most definitely can be out of context just by the ordering, the chronology. We ain't gonna say chronology, but the way they put this thing is not in the right order, so to speak. And this is what they chose to transcribe and put together instead of starting with this particular page up here. They started with this instead of starting with this, which was actually considered down here Papa Prissy, page 2 right here. Where's page 1? They saying that the other part that they're calling page 4 is supposed to be page 1. But this is a totally different drawing here. So that there is a conflict of interest from the onset right there. Right there. That's a conflict of interest from the onset, period. So this is not the original. These are hieroglyphic transcriptions. In other words, they transcribe the hieroglyphs from the hieratic. Once you understand that, that kills any doubt. And we already see which one is original and which one came later. We see that this is a photocopy of symbols that they put together based off of transcribing, which they had reverse engineered, you know, from these characters, which are really alphabet. This is real alphabet here, you know, and these are pictures. So in other words, what we see off the rip, there is no Papa Prissy that was created by the ancient Egyptians that looked like this outside of what the Europeans created when they transliterated from this. So had they not dealt with not transcript, but transcribe, had they not dealt with a transcription, then this is what we would know. This is the only thing that we would know. So they created, you know, this, you know, as a means of trying to use it as a decipherment tool, so to speak. You know, and then call this Kemet. But the difference is these are pictures and this is the alphabet. And once you get that there, it becomes plain to you. You don't have no conflict in regard to this. We got to use the hammer of repetition because some of our people still don't get it. I know y'all got it now. Most of y'all that's here that's been looking at it got it. So I went into my transliteration right here, courtesy, you know, the Egyptian adept temple scribes, you know, red fez degree of the cherubim. You know, we bringing this demonstration on the manifest. So those same 4 lines that I showed you all, you know, was transliterated by myself. You know, this is our methodology. Rome didn't teach us this, and the so-called chematologists in our community didn't teach us this. We learned as we were teaching you. And so we were trying to make the methodology plain so that even a baby can learn and understand. So, you know, this is what everybody been waiting on, and we already went to the public before the community, you know, and we was honored for this reading. In fact, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this right here real quick. I'm gonna show y'all something from some of the ones that have been fighting against us. I want y'all to see this real quick. Let me see here. Because I think I have some clips. So I'm gonna go to my clips and I'll see. And if I can go to the clip, then I can take you to the exact video. So yeah, we are not playing over here, family. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Is it up there? Did I put one in here on this one? Okay. Okay, I didn't put it up here, but I still know how to get back to it though. Let's do it like this right here. Okay, I want to make sure that our people get this right here. Let's see. Yeah, it's this one right here. This is the one. Okay. So we're going to go here. And this was me engaging with the brother, Reggie. And check this out. Can y'all hear that, Moors? Scribes? The sound?
I don't hear anything yet.
Okay. Can you hear it playing now?
Uh-uh.
Oh, you don't? So what I'm gonna have to do then, I'm gonna have to go and reset. You see it on the screen.
I see something, but I don't hear anything.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do then, I'm gonna go over here and I gotta reshare it, and I'm gonna share the sound. Because that's possibly what has happened. I didn't share the sound. Okay, entire screen. Okay, here we go right here. Okay, and we're gonna share the sound there. Okay, and let us go back to the video. I'm turning it up a little bit too so y'all can hear this. I got volume here too, so here we go.
That wrote it.
You can hear it now.
I just don't think that's respectful.
Yes, I hear something now.
That's how we should deal with each other.
Okay, yeah.
So, but I'll put this down. And if you look at the chat, it's just on and on and on, right? About that. And it just says, I have a son, and a lot of you have children, right? I don't want my child to see me acting like this. And my son, he tells me, Reggie, why do you even deal with these people? And I say, well, look, I just say, look, my teachers gave me great information, and so much is expected. That's it.
Reggie, can you say your Cash App? I can't see it.
Yeah, somebody can put it in the chat for me. I'll find it. You know, but like I'm just really taken aback by, you know, about stuff like that. And so with that said, I think I'm gonna close down the show. But that's, I guess that's what it was meant for. That
before you go, I got a question for you. I want to ask you, have you seen?
How you doing? What's up?
I want to ask you, have you seen something before? I just want to share the screen. I want to ask you, have you seen this right here? Let me see. Is my screen shared? Is it in the queue?
It's in the queue.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever seen this before?
Let's just start where it is. Okay, so it's in Hieratic.
Right.
Let me just blow it up. I probably seen it, as you know, in the Medu Nature. So yeah, I see where it is now. So the papyrus priest. Yes,
that's right. And the reason I asked you this because this is the original, and this go back to what we were speaking on earlier, not to change the subject.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to use a primary example, right?
Right.
People, for example, you already know my stance on the conversation. You know, this is called the Medu Ray and Comet. That's the proper terminology to use, referred to it by the ancients, which is called the language of the Egyptians. But my thing is, this is the primary source right here, right?
That's correct.
Being that this is the primary source and this was transcribed into pictures. And I have another source that tell you they did this in the 19th century. So we know the ancient Egyptians didn't do that, right? So this is one of the reasons why you always hear me saying this is the original and the transcription came later. Any true Egyptologist, honestly, they'll tell you that. But what I'm seeing, this is my first time. Actually, I'm dealing with some transliteration in it right now. I got my own key. And so what I found out is that this ain't even in order that the book, you know, when I start transliterating it, I'm gonna give you a prime example. This is supposed to be the first page right here, right? That started, but really this is the first page that's normally in the books. It's actually this page. This is the first line, you know, and this is actually Sabait, right? It's Sabait right here. That's the Seba, that's the A, YY, you know, and then that's the T, right? And then this right here, you know, is int, Sabait and Mir, right? Sabait and Mir, and then it goes into Tahotep. In other words, this is saying that this is what they call the wisdom instructions of Tahotep. That's the first line. But I'm wondering, why is this on page 4 if it's showing in the facsimile that this is page 1 up here? You see what I'm saying? Because normally when it start with that particular thing that I just read to you. It's talking about him being the vizier. That's what they use the word intmir. Mir means vizier or overseer, right? And so I'm seeing errors already, and it goes on, right? In other measures, it talks about mir, inti, and it says also nisut. This is nisut here, right? Esasis, or Isaso, some people say, the king. And if you're familiar with the book of Tahotep, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going through this stuff and I'm vetting it carefully, right? And I actually just started in this particular papyrus, you know, and I'm starting right here. So I'm saying this is why I don't trust what somebody say without doing my own research.
Well, that's fine, but okay, so you okay, so wait, so let me speak.
Go ahead.
Wonderful. All righty. So what you're doing is in fact following the method, right? So with this particular method that you're doing is that you're looking at first you had two questions. Why is one thing in another order? Second, now you're tracking down the hieratic and you're transposing the hieratic, I think yourself, or right, and so that you can actually read it. So what you're doing is the correct method. So that line that you are talking about is correct. It's Saviet, neat, right? I think E.A.R.S, right? And then it goes to the Nosut. Oh well, it goes to ultimately it goes to let me see. I can't see it all, but it's something that we look at. It could be Tati or something like that.
Right. It's
right.
Hotel.
So you're following the right method. I think listen, on Smash's show, they're doing hieratic. They know, and then there's Jedem Ankh who's on, and they know hieratic better than me. But you're doing the correct method, so there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. But
right.
What you're saying is that you don't trust the Europeans. But
no, it ain't that I don't trust them, Reggie. What it is that I'm seeing errors in their ways, and then I got a document that was written, just vetted in 2021, and they saying the same things. And it's a couple of people showing what certain ligatures wasn't put, you know, in the right perspective. You know what I mean? And
I don't have a problem with that. That
ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm just saying I'm giving you the position as to why I look at things the way I do, Because if this is supposed to be the first page, why is it way down here? You know what I mean, so to speak, instead of being up at the top. You see what I'm saying? It should be in the same order. So that let me know.
Right.
Who,
when we started the conversation,
go ahead.
Okay, so the conversation that we were having is that that's the real language.
That's right.
And the meta nature is not, and that hasn't changed with you, right?
Right.
And I got that. So that's where our dilemma is, and that these things weren't deciphered, and I have a whole list of topics, right?
It wasn't. It wasn't. I say they wasn't deciphered. I say they wasn't deciphered according to the ancestors. I'm saying the Ptolemies had their methodology. This has always been my position. The Ptolemies had their methodology, and I'm saying that our ancestors' methodology, according to my research, with sources to prove it, you know, which ain't nobody seen yet because we never had.
Right. So but, I would say with Hieratic, a better test would be with well, you don't have to be tested, but a better conversation would be with them. But I've always known your point, right? But when you say according to our ancestors, that is how can I say, our ancestors who read the meta nature are no longer here.
That's right.
Yeah. So how could we say according to our ancestors? But it's getting late. It is 1:28. And I'm
so you see, you know, the brother he admit that, you know, the methodology was on point, and he really was reading what I had transliterated, and he couldn't really go no further than that. You know what I mean? But all is well. You know, he at least he admitted, you know, I mean, you really couldn't go against what I had put up there anyway, you know, because I mean, it's right there, but he still want to hold on to their transliteration, and that's what I'm saying. The European translation, as far as dealing with their methodology, is right according to them, so to speak. But when we go into it, we see that there are some errors, you know, in this drawing. We seen that when we first started in our elementary state of looking at the paper. You know what I mean? But anyway, so now that y'all see he has admitted that the methodology is on point, it ain't no need in even going into a conversation of even having a discussion, you know, debate going back and forth, because that kill it right there. You know, so now that one has admitted, now it is, okay, well, why y'all ain't doing the work of trying to do what we doing? Why y'all still going off what the Europeans said? Because we got our own methodology, and we have begun to use that methodology. The same one he said is correct. You know what I mean? And this was, I showed him that in the rough draft when I was getting ready to complete it as it is. This is the same line right here. You know, when I put everything together, because I wanted to make sure that the people that see it can follow me with this. So what I did, I kept reproducing, you know, these same 4 lines per line as I went down the page, so I can show you, you know, what was going on here and how they reverse engineered these letters into pictures, because this is the original. So I just reproduced this, you know, and went letter by letter so you can see it plainly and clearly. You know, I took this symbol right here, you know, and put it here. We can already see that they chose to put a star here. You know, now we know if we go into the Hieratic shape molar demonstration, it'll connect this right here to the word Seba, you know, and so forth and so on. But you also see the star. So why they didn't use a symbol that was equivalent to this? Because they didn't have one outside of saying the star is supposed to be similar to this. So they didn't have a symbol that they could actually transcribe this into. So being that this is being grouped under the concept of the star, they chose to put the star there, you know, in their transcription, because the star don't exist in the original paper. So this is just showing you just some small alterations, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? So I went letter for letter, so to speak, you know, and I had what I did, I took most of these from they came from the 12th dynasty, which you seen them make reference to that, you know, and so I went to the 12th dynasty, and a lot of the pictures were real similar because they actually took some of those attestations from them. So I was able to get the symbols that look pretty much just like what was there. So you can see, like I say, the Seba, you can see the letter A right here. You can see it there. You can see the Y. You know, I put that together there. You can see, you know, the T here, you know, and this is actually a marker, you know, indicator here. This would be a scroll expression. And then this is the int. So that's Sabait, Sabait, and then again int, and then mir. This is the mir here, right? And then you go into pretty much this is Tahotep. You know, this is the drawing for Tahotep right here. You know, so once I was able to go into that and break all that down and go through all these different letters, you know, I got the transliteration as Sabayit and Mir Nechet Tahotep Shepsis Herhim Nisut Bit Isese Ankjet Il Rinnehe. You know, the divine wisdom instructions of the noble magistrate, executive ruler, Tahotep under the theocracy, it says, of the Sultan of Upper and Lower King Kemet, Isese, enduring forever unto eternity. And I used our Moorish vibration. That's what I want to get into today, you know, on how, you know, I come up with this special drawing as far as using the Moorish language to transliterate, you know, meaning the language we use in our paradigm to transliterate, you know. So instead of just being the wisdom instruction, we speak of the divine wisdom or the divine instructions that were given to us by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. You know, I could have said holy instructions, but I chose the term divine instead of holy. You know, I could have even incorporated both of them in there in my transliteration, the noble magistrate and executive ruler. So instead of putting vizier, you know, in official, I put noble magistrate because that's our language, magistrate and subject and executive ruler. That's what we are, you know. And so you have a better understanding from a Moorish perspective. And, you know, Tahotep under the theocracy, you know, instead of they would say the government or whatever of, you know, the king or the rulership of the king, I put theocracy, which means divine rulership under God. You know, Sultan is where actually the word sultan derives from in Arabic. That's a strong word. Sultan represents power. It's actually a word in the Grand Quran, sultanate, power, you know, which Allah was given that particular seat of authority, but men began to take on that demonstration under divine rule. So Sultan of Upper and Lower Kemet, you know, instead of Upper and Lower Egypt, I put Kemet there because I'm trying to go as close to the original as possible. And it's Sessi, you know, this is actually a Sessi here, you know, and then enduring forever unto eternity. And that's what that last portion right there is saying. You know, this is the portion where it says Ankh, Jet. You know, this is Jet. This is T, Ankh, Jet, right? And then this last portion is Il, you know, Ren, and then it's Nehe. And He always, when you see that word, is dealing with time or words of power and so forth. In this case, enduring forever unto eternity. You see what I'm saying? So that's where that came from. This is the Essessi here I was talking about. You know, this word right here, just going back. This is Essessi here, right? I just put the E in between it, but, you know, that's like YSSY or ISSI, which is Essessi. You know, so going all the way back up here, and we talk about the Nisut Biddy. This is Sultan. You know, this is where we get the suit. Nisut, some people say Pharaoh. You know, theocracy. In some of the translations, they use the word Pharaoh. You know, so yeah, theocracy under the Sultan of Upper and Lower Kemet, and this Sultan, right? And so this was Tahotep right here. This is actually Tahotep. You know, actually this is Mir Nechet, and then Tahotep. This is the P, T, PT. This is the H. You see Ta, and then you have Hotep, Tahotep. right here. And then you actually have Shepsis, as a symbol here, which is the noble, So that's why I said noble magistrate and executive ruler Tahotep. That's where that came from. Nisut, and then it went into the theocracy of the Sultan of upper and lower. So going all the way back, we already know this is Sabiate Intimir, and this takes us back to the divine wisdom instructions. So that's how I did that. So what this is called, in our paradigm, in our methodology, this is the Medu Incommect facsimile excerpt, meaning this excerpt, this line 1, I excerpt, and then I reproduced it only so you could see it. You can see it here too, but I wanted better clarity, so I went line for line, and word for word, or letter for letter to bring it back. And then I showed you, though this is widely accepted as being the transcription, I showed you the pseudoglyph transcription. We got to call it what it is. We're not calling the picture pseudo. We're saying that this transcription as a language or as words is pseudo, because these are symbols that have deeper meaning behind them. There are different formulas. For example, let's deal with a little metaphysical expression. To us, this star represents comedically harmony, truth, balance, right order, and justice, which is where love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice came from, and this is a symbol of that special teaching, right? To us, this also is a symbol of man. It's a symbol of God, according to our good brother Apollo, who also taught these things metaphysically. The star is a symbol of God. When they Kemites wanted to, and Apollo was a priest, an Egyptian priest, an actual priest before Champollion, who agreed with Apollo and later tried to trump his methodology after he came up with his little fake concept of decipherment. So it's another measure. They admitted he was right. So, this hawk is also a symbol of God, So rather than dealing with these as letters, these are actual pictures that are expressing certain measures. What is the nature of the hawk? Why is it that I was telling our family, I had went up to my storage and I had a hawk laying right above my truck on the line. I was trying to take a picture of it, and me and the brother Marvin Edwards Babe was on the phone, and I didn't even notice it. It was making the sound, squawking or whatever. He was like, "Brother, what you got going on there? You sound like you got it." And I wasn't really paying attention to it, though I heard it. I wasn't really paying attention. And then it was squawking, like probably trying to get my attention is how I got it, from a divine aspect, because I was dealing with some certain measures, and it was right there, like really almost on top of my truck because the line was so low. And I was like, hold up, let me take my phone out and take a picture of it. Soon as I took that phone out to take the picture of it, family, it was gone. I'm talking about, I ain't even hear it take off. It was gone. So I was like, oh man, but it was meant for me to see that. And at the time, I said, well, that's a similar guidance from the ancestors. If you seen the movie Mummy, you seen the Magi individual that was moving on the first mummy. He had a hawk. But this is something that the Moors used to demonstrate with as well. We got pictures of the Moors with the hawk on their arm. Sometimes they call these people falconers or whatever. And, they had a little leather thing wrapped around their arm so that the talons don't claw into them, so to speak. And then they let them sit on their arm. So we got pictures of Moors doing that. They inherited that from Kemet. But again, this represented God. So if I were looking at this from a metaphysical aspect, rather than looking at it as letters, I would say, well, the teachings of harmony, truth, balance, right order, and justice, God in man as it relates to dealing with his divinity, is a representation of the guidance of God, you see, which is synonymous again with the hawk, divine guidance. So instead of these being letters, these are things. People, places, and things is what we have up here, and so therefore that divine guidance, and these are reed leaves, which is synonymous with what we call Seket Aru, or the field of reeds, the paradise, divine guidance coming forth from the paradise. And this, as you see it, a semicircle coming out of here, like the rising, divine guidance of paradise, rising, right? From the words or the scrolls of truth, so to speak, right? This is how I would speak this. I'm just giving a brief metaphysical exegesis of this type of demonstration, and rises, from the words, as they flow forth, continuously rising in ascension, right? Coming forth from the wisdom, because, the owl is symbolic to wisdom, right? Of words that come forth through power, spoken word, because this is supposed to be the mouth. See, I don't need no alphabet to do what I'm doing right now. Words that are spoken with power to the town, because this is similar to town. The truth is being taken in every direction. What angels do, they take the truth in every direction, from the four corners of earth to the center to the outer bound. This is a symbol that we have in our teachings in the chart of Islamism. You see what I'm saying? And as it is spoken, these words of the power of wisdom are spoken, to the town or the people, so to speak, then their consciousness begins to arise. You see, and we can keep going on and on and on with this stuff here, and that's just giving a metaphysical aspect, but it even gets deeper than that, because that's just freestyling right there, right? If we really wanted to go into the measure, we would actually study these demonstrations and what these things represent. We would study the constellations and what a star represents. We would study the nature of the hawk, study the nature of the reed leaf, carefully, and study all of these things, and then come up with a grand expression. And this is why it was said Yehoshua was told to contemplate the meaning, of the glyphs. He wasn't given no dictionary that Champollion had, because that didn't exist even during that time. And that was long after the Kemites came down, when Yahushua was on the manifest. He was told to contemplate the meaning. We showed y'all last week. So we can do this, but we can also go into the mathematical aspect, because these represent divine formulas to us. So it takes it beyond trying to put it in the box of making it one letter. We see formulas in this stuff, and we done did the transliterations, of these things, showing you how there can be a healing power, and properly being able to demonstrate the Heka. So we can do that through this whole special draw. All you got to do is observe what you're looking at and contemplate, what's here. Read the book of creation, because all of these are elements of creation. Nobody can deny that the stars are part of creation. Nobody can deny that the hawk, or the bird or the falcon are a part of creation. Nobody can deny that reed leaves are a part of creation. You know what I mean? And we can go on and on. Again, these are people, places, and things, not letters. And so they buried the actual language under the pictures, and they was able to do it because these pictures come forth from sacred carvings that were created by the ancestor, and it will be hard for one to accept that this is not, the way that they're doing it. Their methodology is not the right methodology, because they're only seeing it from the fact that, the symbols come from the ancient Egyptian, but they don't see the difference between the two, the Medu and Kemet and the Medu Netta. This is why they fall in my climate. So yeah, I went there and I did the same thing, going line for line, and we came up again with the Medu and Kemet facsimile excerpt, and that's line 2, and we went into Menechet Tahotep Jetef Itit Nebtini Kepre Irha, and they actually stop it with all, but I placed the AW there because it was there. That's the AW, it's right there, but anyway, and it says, said he, the noble magistrate and executive ruler, Tahotep. And I was telling our people, this is a ligature here. And in this ligature, we can see the same thing, Menechet, Tahotep. So when you see this, if you see this in any papyri, you can recognize it now because I've showed it to you. And they have it in here twice. They had it here one time, and then they had it up here, right here. See the M and R mirrored. Just look at the first letter, and then look at the last one here. And then they also have the indicator here behind it. So that's Mir Nechet Tahotep. You know, so that's why I came back to noble magistrate and executive ruler again. Tahotep. You see? And this is it here in this second line, and this is it in the first line. See, so it's used 2 times, you know, between these 2 lines here. But you can recognize that ligature now that you see it. And that's what we are doing. We are training our eyes and our consciousness to be able to see what it is we're looking at. First and foremost, the letters. You know, and once we understand the letters, because we already know the indicators show us what we need to bring about separations and so forth and so on. You know, we see jet here, jetef. This is the F here. You know, then we have it. This is it here. You know, and we have neb and neb right here. Then we have neptini. Neptini. This is it right here. Neptini. Right? Kepere. And this is also the indicator here too, a separator or divider, however you want to say it. But this is Neptini, right? Kepere. This is Keper. And then this is R, right? And then this is I, right? And W. I put the A in there for the vowel so you can pronounce it. It will be IW without that. IW, right? And you see it here. Then you see another indicator here, which I actually had to bring forth myself. You can see it up here too the same way. And then it comes behind that with the letter H. That's W again. And it has 2 W's, you know, so I put an A in between that one right there and took it on out to another W here. So, ow. So they would stop it here, but I took it a little further. So it says, saith he, the noble magistrate and executive ruler Tahotep, sovereign, my lord, as infirmity arise and old age descends. So this starts off by talking about getting old. You know, at a certain point of time, infirmity gonna rise in your life and old age gonna set in. You know, the body begin to change and so forth and so on, right? And then we come to the next line and we see the Medu Incomet facsimile excerpt here. And also, you know, I also call this Medu Incomet transliteration and translation. The transliteration is this portion here when I transliterate the letters. The translation is actually translating it into the English language. You see? So here's another line here. And as you begin to deal with this transliteration process, what it does is it trains your eye. So in order to learn this and get into this language, it ain't something that you're going to look at letter by letter and just know. You got to really work with the papyri, and it will put an impression. It'll put an impression on your consciousness, you know, if you work with it, and you'll be able to identify these things. Like my scribes pretty much can see letters in here that they recognize because they done been working with them. And this is how we will become more refined, by actually working with it. So, you know, can't nobody come up here and show you and teach you until you become fully refined in doing this and practicing this right here. You know, you're going to always be looking at it like, what in the world is that? And it will make it hard. What makes it easy is application. And that's what we demonstrate in our methodology. Application, we are telling you, and we have reverse engineering. We have the process of reverse engineering this back into its original state. And nobody can say that ain't right, because you heard the brother say it was correct. But the reason why, even if he said it was incorrect, he would be wrong, because we are going back to the original papyri. Remember, the pictures didn't exist in this form until the European created in the 19th century. If this is the oldest book of the world, and this goes back to 4,600 years ago, and this was created in the 19th century, common sense automatically tell you that you should go with this, because this is the attestation. This is the oldest extant source right here. You see what I'm saying? So ain't no arguing after that right there. So now ones have to accept what we have said. You know, that killed the room again for argument and even having to debate it. Because we done showed you what we can do. And we didn't take a whole lot of time neither. Despite not having Rome, you know, trying to feed us from their institution. Because they don't have an institution where they are teaching this. You understand? But I do know you're going to have those who go through the back door and try to take our methodology and try to remix it. You know, because they're going to catch on to it after a while. If they ain't, some of them already be looking at my stuff and taking certain things and then trying to regurgitate it. But that's a whole nother stuff. A whole nother demonstration dealing with this stuff, part and self. So this was the third line, you know, which is Wig Ihu, Heru, Mawis, Denef, Kadri, Radneb, Erti, Dinisut, Unqui. Because that's not a X, as we see, it's a K. This is actually a K sound. You just got to know sound shifting. Let me blow that up too. This is a K sound right here. This little X I got my cursor on. It's not like, it's more of like X, that k, k sound in X. That's what sound, unqui, k, k, X. You see? So anyway, the translation was misery and weakness return often. So in other words, when you reach a certain age, you know, misery, you might be miserable feeling in the weakness that you have, you know, and this thing might recur and it get worse and worse as you get old. One is sluggish and discomfort every day. The eyes serve poorly. You start having poor eyesight, you know. Yeah, you know, this is what this is talking about right here, you know. But I chose to use Morse drawing, like, you know, dealing with the misery and weakness and the sluggish, because we talk about the sluggish will. The will becomes more sluggish because, you know, spirit is not moving at the same vibration it was when you was in your youth, you know. And at some point of the time, you know, you lose attachment to the flesh, you know, you're going to leave this body, you know. So anyway, I had also here in the last line, which you can see I reproduced it, you know, here as well, you know, and went on through here. And what you will see in this last line, this is Imru. Let me blow that up so y'all can see that. Imru Peti Heru Akni Wurdu Ib-ira Agru Ni Madu Medu Nef. You know, it's dealing with words or some type of speech, you know, just by hearing the term Medu. So because once you hear that right there, that's what it is. But anyway, you know, so dealing with the Medu Incomet facsimile excerpt, you see that we reproduced it just as it is now. Again, look at the letters. Look at them. This is a process, though, family. You know, and you get faster as you go on with it, but it's a process to do this. You know what I mean? But again, it trains, you know, the intellect to be able to demonstrate it. We're going letter for letter with this here. You know what I mean? And we can call these letters out and even deal with a transliteration off the dome with some of them. But some of them we learning as well. See there? Yeah, as we go all the way up here to the end, letter for letter, we reproduce it so you can see it better. Like I said, you can see it in the document, but, you know, we reproduce it so you can see it better. So, and that's a process in and of itself. And so that's where I ended, you know, that particular drawing at. And we're going to continue to go through this papyri. You know, me and the scribe, we're going to vet it. But we want to show you certain things in order for us to really vet it, you know, what has to be done. We're getting ready to open up the floor in a little bit. So what we also created, you know, from the various charts that was found, you know, also coming from us, you know, is that we created, well, we showed our people what we call the Hieratic master key. That's what I call it, the Hieratic master key, because it was my key. It is the key, so to speak, to being able to utilize it and go and vet these letters. We also give a brief description to show you how the language evolved out of the Hieratic, which you can see it up here. We show that, from Hieratic came Phoenician. And we were showing the comparison between how the Phoenician, though it had different letters, there's a similarity even between the change that they have. You can see the slight changes, like this portion here. Only thing they did is took the line here off of it and kept this portion. Here, they took the top portion and left the 3 lines out and then turned it at an angle, opened it up a little bit more. Here, we can see they took the little hoop off of this here and turned it around the opposite direction, and this is like literally A, B, G, and D. This is abjad order right here. This is A, B, G, and D right here, in the Phoenician. So Phoenician most definitely looking way more than familiar when we talk about deriving out of the Hieratic. See, look at this here, the letter P or the letter F. Same symbol, they just turn it up right. This is the Z like symbol. Sometimes, but this is the H. We can see how, there was a spacing in between the top and the bottom that created even like a 3-step ladder, so to speak. But this is the letter H. These are letter H in Phoenician, but you can still see the connection here. So most definitely, there's definitely some connection between the Phoenician, and the Hieratic. We can see most definitely that this Phoenician definitely came from the Hieratic. You know what I mean? So once you understand that, and then you say, well, from Phoenician came Hebrew. It all makes sense. We even showed you that in the Atlantean language, what they call, and Lemurian language, what we call Sinzar, and Sinzar is also a place named Egypt. It shows you various different characters. And we've seen these characters even in the Hieratic language. So a lot of the characters that came from certain languages, can be found in this language that is known as Sinzar, or the language of the Atlanteans and Lemurians. And this comes from Tehuti. He taught Asa. So we understand what's going on here. You understand? We even joked around and said, we were pointing out certain pictures. Like I would say, well, this looked like a man right here sitting in a chair. You know what I mean? This looked like a man prostrating over. You know what I mean? Bending over. And if I would have produced that in a picture, you know what I mean? Then it would be crazy if I would produce that in a picture form, and I show you a man bowing over, you'll believe it. I can say, oh, well, this look like a serpent right here, that's getting ready to strike. You understand? And then make a picture there, and I'd be transcribing these characters into a picture and making them something that they're not. You see what I'm saying? So this is it's crazy. That's basically what they did, and they got our people fooled. So it run down the history of what I was saying. It actually gives you the period where the Hebrews actually came with their creation of their alphabet, drawing from the Phoenician, which came from the Hieratic. That's why I call this the Hieratic master key. I took the same chart here. Then we go letter for letter. I had to put this in abjad order. I put this whole thing here because this was a whole totally different chart here. It wasn't in the abjad order. This chart that I did, I had to take it and rearrange it, so that our people can get it. So when they go in there, because we deal with the abjad aspects, they can go letter for letter. And so you could go into the chart and see, for example, let's go back to my transliteration that we just had. Let's go up here, for example. If we were looking for the letter A and we was using the Hieratic master key, or if we were just looking at some symbols in here, all you have to do is know the difference between what is, the alphabets and what are indicators. So in this case, the indicator here is right here, which is Majet. We don't translate that, but this is the scroll indicator. So this is Seb, right? Seba, right? And when we go into the breakdown of this here, we see the A, we see the Y. You actually have to go into Molar's tool to find this right here. You know what I mean? But this is an A. And I'm going to go over to the Hieratic master key, and let you see. See the letter A in Hieratic? And then we have A here in the chart. You see? So let's go with a B. This is the basic B that you will find in Hieratic. So let's go look for that B. letter here. You know, and you would go and look through. Let's see here. And they actually have their B's a part of whole expression, so to speak. But this is a B right here. Wait a minute. Give me 1 second here. I just had it. Well, they had all their B's that were a part of, let me see here. Not that one, not that one, not that one. They actually had, their B's was a part of their whole expression in triliterals and biliterals. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here and show you a B. Because it's easy to find. And that's the way you can learn it too. You know, just by going letter by letter. That's a B right there. That's a letter B right there. See it right there? That's a letter B right there. So if you want to refine your knowledge in the B or any letter, you just go, well, you see a B here and just search each line and see how many B's that you can find. Or search each line and see how many A's that you can find. And then after a while, these things will start jumping out at you. And once you're able to see them, then you will be able to start putting sentences together. You see what I'm saying? That's the methodology that we utilize. You see? That's another look like a B right here too. We was talking about that earlier. You know, and they wrote in different ways or what based on who it is that's writing about it too. You got to know that as well, family. So keep that in mind. You know what I mean? But that's definitely the letter B. You know, and you can go through the document. If you don't see that many there, look at it again. Just go line for line, running through here. Keep looking around. And they go another B right there. See the B right here? This is B. You can go on, they go nothing right there. That's another B, right? Now, I know what's around this here too, but I'm just talking about the B right now. I'm just trying to show you the B. Now, when we go back to my hieratic master key, this is B right here. They go G right there. So now let's go and look for the G. You see how the G looks. And I think, I got a couple of them that may be up here. It may be in this document I had here, if I ain't mistaken. I had one. I know I had a G up here somewhere. But actually, this is the Tahoe tip that looks similar because you don't want to get them mixed up either. You see this symbol right here? This is actually P. But you can mistake this P for the G. You know, if you ain't careful. That's another P. That's actually PT too, to be exact. They go to G right there. This is your G. And that's why I transliterated GRW. See, this is the G and the R. It's G and R. And then W following up behind that. So this is the G here. See that symbol G? Even though it's shaped kind of funny, go back to the master key. And there it is. That's your G. This is the letter D. You know, you'll see D all over the place. That's the D right there, right? And so we would go through the document, you know, and look for the D. There it is right there. Sometimes they transliterate this as T because D and T is interchangeable too, family. You know what I mean? And this is the word do. This word here, word do. You know, word do. You know, right there, D. So that's the D. You know, and then you just go through. And like I said, and look for, you know, the other D letters in the line. And like I say, just same process all the way through here. But anyway, each one of these letters going to check out just like I say they do. You know, I carefully constructed this master key right here for that purpose. So once you're able to learn that, but you're going to go deeper into this once you go into your molar tool and your aku tool. You know, though you see these measures up here, you know, this is good for the chart, you know. And just like they give you the example when they was talking about, this is actually coming from the book dealing with hieroglyphic and hieratic writing compared, and they was talking about the papyri prissy here. You know, the example hieratic writing is taken from the prissy papyrus, upon which at period BC 26, that's 2600 years before Christ, which would make it 4,600 or 4,600 years. You see, 2 texts containing the moral precepts, which were composed about 1,000 years earlier, were written. You know, and right here, this is it right here, the original aspects of it, and then they're showing you the letters that were taken out of it. So these are certain letters, and they are taking certain measures here and transcribing. Now, if we transcribe these into hieroglyphics, we obtain the following. And so they begin to do their work of reverse engineer. So they turn this letter into this and say this is the reed leaf. They turn this into the open mouth symbol. They turn this into the hare or the rabbit. They turn this into the wavy surface. And you see, the more they try to do this stuff, it don't look nothing like what they trying to show you, but that's what they did. And that's what our people ain't getting when we tell them. You know, all you got to do is look at the number, because they got the number on everything up here. See the 5? Don't look nothing like that water right there, even though they trying to tell you. They said they was guessing and trying to put certain things together. You understand? So when we go in there, it's certain things that we have to correct. How we vet what it is that we say, what we better more depend on is the strong word expression. Some word may be purely Egyptian, so they may not be Arabic or the Khmer. But some languages go all the way into even beyond Arabic and Egyptian, and they go into Swahili. They go into all other languages. Islam, I think somebody got the line up.
Islam.
Islam.
You get the goddess got kicked out. She backstage.
Thank you, goddess. Thank you. Pardon about it, because I can't see nothing but what's going on the screen. I apologize for that. Rome ain't built nothing to last. They better stop messing with my Grand Secretary of State.
I was kicked out.
Islam, Grand Secretary of State. We got her back in here. You know, so
Gratitude.
oh yeah, Islamism without the schism. Yeah, so like it ain't getting no plainer than we making it right now though. You know, like I say, we walking through this demonstration, but we letting them know why we describe. So they did that. They transliterated, you know, and then I showed every time I put a new chart up here or the information up here, I basically put the special drawing up here, you know, and this is from Derug. Derug was the one who created this chart. Derug was on to something, but they didn't listen to him. You know, so in this particular chart, you know, that was produced here, you know, it actually have same thing, but they did again transcribing these into pictures, and you can see when you do these things, and you know good and well that and that is totally different. That and that is so this and this is different, but they was reaching now. They were trying to do it. You know what I mean? Some of them they're trying to get away with. You know, they were reaching, family. You know, this is what they were doing. You know, to try to do that, they were transcribing, you know, from letters into pictures. And they made a hot mess of what's going on over here. So if people want to believe that, that's on them. But we're going to continue to vet this demonstration. Look at this. How you get that and that right there? What I mean, come on, man. Stop the madness. Like, I mean, we ain't really got to keep going through this, but we have to reiterate, because some of our people still don't believe. They still believe in Rome. You know, so we showing this, you know, and we put this here in the Hieratic Master Key to show you exactly how they evolved this. We even showed you here how after the Hieratic comes the Phoenician, then you have what they want to call ancient Greek, which was really already Phoenician. So stop lying. Just call it Phoenician. Don't try to make Greek seem like it's older than what it was and try to trick the people. Ancient Persian, Hebrew, it's showing you all these things here coming later from the Phoenician. But the Phoenician came from Hieratic. We already showed that to you. Here's another one with the hieroglyphic transcriptions up here. You see what I'm saying? Same thing. The same thing they put up there, different order. Then they have the letters over here. So in all actuality, what they really saying, if you can put the Hebrew letters on the side of the Masoretic text, then when you translate these pictures, they the same thing that the Hebrew word saying in the Hebrew dictionary. So what's really going on? Did Champollion really use Hebrew or the Masoretic text to come up with his transliteration? Because some of the words check right back out to the Hebrew. And we can say the same thing about the Arabic, because we got charts where Arabic and Hebrew is compared, different symbols, but yet same sounds in the root 22. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, and we went on, showed other charts that were created. This one actually admits and didn't have no pictures in here. One of the most accurate charts out of every one of them I done seen. Characters, Hieraticus, Egyptian, Hieratic right here, Phoenicians. Then the Hebrew come from it, just like I said, Syriac, Samaritan, and it goes all the way over into the Arabic. This is a very accurate chart right here on the languages. So I'm going through showing our people all this stuff. Then this is one where they tried to compare, the Hieratic to the Greek, which is really Phoenician, and this is transliteration, because we already know, we told you this was Phoenician already. You know what I mean? So we already see this here. This ain't Greek. Ain't no ancient Greek. This is the same Phoenician alphabet we pointed out earlier. But see, this is how they get you and fool you and behoove you. This is terrible, but we just showed it to you. Then we came all the way down here and showed you how they took the pictures again. And here again, transcription here. And all these can't be the bird, because we seen in certain places where this is said to be a letter W, symbols like this. It can't be a W and an A at the same time, unless you're going to say, well, the U is changeable to a vowel, the W is A, and that's the connection, and try to pull something like that. All these can't be the reed leaf right here, family. You understand? And then you turn around and say, well, this is the Y right here, this is the I. Well, I see the same symbols up here, there, how the I, but they'll say, well, this is interchangeable with it. And then all these can't be the double dash. You understand what I'm saying? So these people were really reaching, so we are able to, through our vetting process, like I say, going through the strong words and taking a careful measure, go through these documents and, like I say, reverse engineer it back into its original language. We also have even our chart for what we call the facial recognition chart. And because we use an Egyptian Arabic for our pronunciation, so we have the hieratic letters here in a chart that's next to the Arabic, and so we use the Egyptian Arabic. This is, like this is your A, the B. We don't have this in abjad order here. This is just a random chart that we use as an excerpt, but it's still the same thing. If you go compare it to a lot of the letters, they're going to check out like they do. They just ain't in the order that we put it in. They got a lot of sound shifting in here. So we showed that, and then you can come right here and it shows you where you pronounce these particular sounds from. Whether they are being pronounced from the back of the nasal cavity in the deep area here, or from the front of the nasal cavity, whether it's coming off of the lip, or the top of the mouth, or the deep portion of the throat, so that's what this is. This is a map showing you where you pronounce these things from. You see what I'm saying? And we pronounce it using the Egyptian Arabic dialect, because I was taught the Egyptian Arabic dialect by an actual Egyptian. Okay, so I use that knowledge and implement it. So this, I put all in here, and that's why I call it the hieratic master key, because it can be used, to go back into, and it gives a brief history on exactly what happened. So our tools that we have, we definitely use our coup. We go into this special drawing, and this is where we find our attestations at. For example, if I was looking for the attestation of A1, all I got to do is go right here, and click on it. Come on, open sesame. Stop acting slow. Okay, and then they have, these hieratograms down here, which goes back to the 4th dynasty. And they show you the various different hieratograms. This is where I took a lot of my letters from. Like I said, I went down here, scrolled to my 12th dynasty, because that's where the Papyri Prissy, they try to date it from. And it's pretty accurate. And then I went and took, from the earliest 12th dynasty. I didn't go to the 2nd Middle Kingdom dynasty or 12th dynasty unless it was necessitated. You see what I'm saying? But they say this document actually dates, from a earlier period too. They even say that in their thing. So yeah, this is the other one. So these are, the different letters, expressions of the letter, in different forms. So we got to take it with a grain of salt when we doing what we doing. So once we find out, for example, if I want to go into actual pronunciation of what I see right here. Okay, so now I go to the Unicode, because I already see, where I'm at. And so this is A1. So I just go to my molar tool, and just say, okay, A1, hit it. I may have to put a capital. Oh, no, they let me. So here it is right here. And so then I can find my transliteration right here, the letter I, but then I go back, again, and look at these different changes. A lot of these are different from each other. Don't even look like what they expressing them as, but we already know what's going on here. So this is why we have to deal with the reverse engineering process. And the more we go into these different forms, we learn the different letter expressions. It's just like Arabic, where you have to learn the middle, the beginning, the middle, and the ending of the letter. Only difference is this has got a lot more going on with the different expressions. So you see it's still the letter I, no matter how far you go down here. And some people say the letter A, depending on who is transliterating it. So once you understand that and you have your words where you can put your words together, then you can recognize this is also the tool, our slay tool, and we utilize these words right here to keep certain people out of our game room and trying to steal. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, you can come here, and they actually have, and this bottom place is the best place to come to really go, because it is in alphabetical order, actually. At least the Unicode is, and so you can come through here and find it. And they have your biliterals and your triliterals. Kind of crazy on the writings. They scribe skills ain't up to par, so to speak, that much. But this is actually better than the book, because the book is really pixelated and it's like off. It's kind of crazy. But so you can see all of your words actually expressed here and find them. You can see them put together, how they look. But the best thing is to find the Unicode, and then when you find the Unicode, if you find it here, just go to your molar tool, and you'll get the better picture, so to speak. Because a lot of the Aku pictures are based off of that. And once you have all your words together, a lot of these words, come together in the text perfectly. Let's see something real quick. I'm going to see something here. And this is just picking out, I'm going to see if it let me do it. Uh-oh. Should be peace with the letter A. I'm just trying something. Okay, you see Hotep here, right? This is actually, they dealing with this, is they little reverse engineered aspect. Remember, we know that these are transcribed. We know that what's really hidden behind this is the original hieratic. You understand that they're done replaced with pictures. So when we show you these dictionaries, we're not going into the aspect of showing you pictures, because we know they buried that, and it's a reason. They didn't want you going into the hieratic. So this was a Masonic trick to put the pictures there, so you would be looking for pictures and you would never look at the original papyri. You see what I'm saying? This is Hetep. See? And this right here, they would say this is the Hetep part right here, right? But when we come over here, where it is, after we have reverse engineered it, because we actually have Hetep here. After you reverse engineered it, you find out that no, this is Hetep. Right here in the hieratic. See, this is Hetep. Right here, Hetep. This is Ta. You see what I'm saying? So once you understand that and you look up the letters, you can go back to the dictionary. And in most cases, you'll find these things there. We just put peace up there. And then we go here. And everywhere you go with the peace, you're going to see the Hetep. And you're going to see the same expression, so to speak. And then you can deal with your reverse engineering process as you go through that special demonstration. You know, you just keep looking forward. You know, they got other words for peace too, but you know, we know the main one that jump out at us. You know what I mean? This symbol alone, you know, represents a whole expression of a word, not one letter. Hetep. You see what I'm saying? So that's what they ain't show you, family. That's what they ain't been telling you. So we got a couple of different dictionaries we deal with. So let's just say I wanted to transliterate this and use the language of the Grand Quran. So what I would do, you know, using the language of the Grand Quran, you know, I would go into looking at the word peace, you know, and I would go here and find, you know, many different words with the word peace. Let me go into the actual words. I'm trying to find words. They're just using it here. Come on. And if I wanted to do it based on the Grand Quran language, which is a lot of this stuff in here actually is very close to our stuff as well. You know, they actually not giving me my, you know what? I think I had a wrong. I see what's going on here. I got the wrong document open. It's actually this document. Wouldn't let me go to it. Okay, so here it is right here. Go to downloads. It's this document that I supposed to have open. Pardon the self modes. Okay, where is it? Where you at? You know you in here. Okay. Not that one, not that one. Now, there you go, right there. This is the one I was trying to go into. I always get them two documents mixed up. So I would actually put peace right here. Okay, and so this would give us the words. And you may find certain words that's exactly the same sometimes. But you know, you just go through here, these different measures, and you know, I may whether use the term the safety of others, you know, whatever the case may be in my transliteration. Kathura, this is another word, peace be upon, you know, Katha. Katha is actually a river. That's the river that's said to be in paradise. Symbolically, it actually has to do with the adept chamber too. But that's a whole nother measure. The land of milk and honey flowing from on high. You know, Mutmaina, state of peace with the knives. You know, so you can go through here and just find measures if I was dealing with it that way. But if I were to go into, also here's another dictionary too, which I use this for more than anything, the Vigus. Come on, it ain't letting it show. Let me refresh that real quick and see if it pulled it up. It just was up here early. Reload it. Yeah, so I can come through here and I find a lot of those measures here, you know, and then go into reverse engineering it back to its original hieratic state. They transcribed it and we are taking it back to its original state. Masterminds able to trace themselves back and thus they know. This is the ancient Egyptian dictionary here too, which has a lot in them. So we can use many of them. And once you go through here, you're going to see if something need to be corrected. Because these things are not accurate, so to speak, as they should be. So we correct them along the way. You know, so here I would go to our Moorish Holy Quran, dealing with the word peace. And how many words that we have that relate to peace? You know, phrases, the covenant of peace. I may want to use that in my the dawn of peace, the prince of peace. You know what I mean? And so you compile all of those things in your own dictionary. Now you got an ancient Kemetic text that you can transliterate with the language that we utilize. Peace of the earth abides in peace. You know, peace with themselves, just different measures, you know, but that's a whole nother drawing. We ain't got to go into all that there, but I just wanted to show our people that right there and give you some insight behind it. Y'all will pick up as we move along. We just want to say gratitude to our people for their listening ear and everybody that was on the manifest. And at this time, we're going to go to our officials, starting with our Grand National Secretary of State. Islam,
can you hear me, Mo?
Oh, loud and clear with divine ears. Let me stop sharing here. Go ahead, Grand Secretary of State.
Islam. First of all, rising, giving praises to Allah, honor to our prophet, honor to our family online, to our scribes, to ACT1, and also to you, Dr. Shahid, our host instructor. This is very powerful. Again, you make it look so easy, but you also giving us the reminding us of the path that we need to continue to be on as far as immersing ourselves in the language. And going back to when we first looked at Hieratic, and where part of our assignment was to, okay, here's the letter A, find all the A's that you can find. And that gave one hope to be able to go into transliteration and translation. And it actually did make it easier. And the last assignment, for me, it was a little jumbled up. And I strive to do better and use the methodology in reference to identifying the indicators, not transliterating any indicators, but identifying them as the break in the letters and be able to take it from there. Because when you break it down in pieces like that, that makes it easier. And I love when you went back through the tools to be able to assist us along the way and building our particular dictionary, and also just revisiting the tools and you having different uses for it to aid and assist one and being able to bring the document forth with the understanding. And I love the way how you made it applicable to more science. If you're taking the word peace and you go through your Quran, go through the Quran of Muhammad, go through this particular tool. And that way it makes it plainer, not only for self, but for our family online. So this is a grand measure, and definitely the hammer of repetition is needed, so that we can build upon what it is that we have. I did identify a couple of letters. I still have to definitely listen to the playback in reference to being able to identify specific words such as Ptah-hotep, and other measures. But the more that we immerse ourselves, the more that we demonstrate this, the easier that it will be. So gratitude for continuing to put these tools out front, to be out there as the vanguard in the forefront, to aid and assist us in being able to bring forth our assignments and become better at this special task. Gratitude more for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moorish King. Grand class.
Gratitude, Islamism. Yeah, we trying to make it plain for. And want to give honors to you, scribes, for all your due diligence as well. Islam. And at this time, we'll call for our Grand National Chairman, Dr. Akanak and Pert M. Heru, to coming back. Islam, you there, Grand Man?
Chairman's not available at this time. More gratitude.
Okay, Islamism. Well, we already know he about, our father's business. Islam. Gratitude to the grand man. Grand job with the book of fire as well. Well, all right. Well, at this time, then we'll go to our other scribe. Well,
Is
Sister, I guess. Yeah, brother. Bate, go. Islam.
Islam. Yeah, I think I'm the only one left.
Yep, that's right.
Islam. But oh wow, now this has been a powerful class. I thoroughly enjoyed everything, and like the goddess say, gratitude for going over our different tools and stuff. And as I was looking, and I like the way the papyrus to me, sometimes they be looking kind of fuzzy like, and I like the way you put it up there. You had yours real clear, where you know you can make it out, and I like that when you can see them. Sometimes I have a challenge trying to make out, trying to see it, not so much as what the letter is, but it be kind of fuzzy sometimes. But nevertheless, I really enjoyed what you were saying, and as I was listening to you, and as I watch you do the translation and the transliteration, and I see where my challenge is. Now I can find what I'm gonna have to work on too is make sure I'm not spending hours and hours on trying to figure out what something is and find out that that's an indicator, So, but when I was watching you, my challenge for me is I can almost figure out the alphabets. I can and put them together. But then when you start doing the translation, that's what I feel gonna be. I see as a challenge, because when you was, I got to go back and listen to it, because when you was explaining it, I see how you did it, but I know I definitely need some work there. Figuring out what the word is, and I can get the gratitude for showing us our Egyptian dictionary and the other diction. I can't think of it right now, but the other dictionary that you showed us, gratitude for slate. Yeah, slate and all our tools, and the molar tool and the coup tools, they will come in very handy. But I see for me is so much is translating into the English. That's where I see I'm definitely gonna have to spend time on working on that part. But other than that, this was a grand class. I loved it how you went back and you were showing, and I got tickled at your friend when he said that he was always on point with you when when you showed the video. He agreed with you. He had always been on point with you. But I'm like, if you always been on point with him, well, what was all the fuss about? If you know what he would talk about, Brother Reggie, I'm like, okay, I guess you just, I don't know. But it's fun for me. And like you say, if you really want to know this, you're going to have to put the work in, because it's not, you just can't just jump in there. It takes work, and it takes time. And patience and gratitude, God, man, for all that you do, and then turning around, spending your time to share with us and teaching us all these tools, and teaching us how to do this, how to do these things, and just I know for me, I already know that the European is not going to give you the truth, so I have no problem with not accepting what he have to say. I know a lot of people out there, they think if the Europeans said it, that settles it, but that's not the case for me, because I know if he said it, I definitely better be vetting it, and if he said it one way, I need to flip it, and I'll probably get the correct answer. So gratitude, God, man, for letting me share. Peace and love.
Gratitude for sharing. Peace and love, Sister Curta Bay. We just give honors to all of you for everything that you do. You know, and at this time, we can turn it back over to you and let you take us in the third heaven. Islam.
Okay, all right. Islam. January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by the order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations, ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is officially adjourned according to Act 2. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, Moors. Great class.
Great class. Gratitude. Peace and love, family.
Peace and love, family.
Gratitude. Uncle Jesanev, life, health, and prosperity be upon you all, scribes, and Moorish kin watching us. Islam.
Islam. Gratitude.
Gratitude. Islam. See y'all in Sunday school, Moors.
Islam. Praise Allah.
Islam. Praise be to Allah. And honors to our family out there in social medias. We're anti-American American, Tyree Bay, Charles Royale, Michael Staley L, Noble Bryan, all the time. Peace and love, family.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.